Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I see issue with that. And again, hey.
You're not going to be able to insult your way to the presidency. That's not going to happen.
I don't know who created Pokemon Go, but I'm trying to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
I'm Ted Cruz, and my pronoun is kiss my ass.
So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him.
Not good. Believe me, not good.
Oh, welcome everyone, dissidents, one and all. A pleasant good evening. Welcome to the DueDissidence podcast. Keaton Weiss here with Russell Dobular.
Hello.
All righty. Well, we hope you guys are all having a great time so far on this Sunday here in New York. It is a brisk 60 degrees on a Sunday. Nice change of pace from the roiling heat. Nice little cool down period. I almost wore a little hoodie tonight, figuring it would be one of the last chances to, because it's pleasantly cool here in the Northeast. But hope you guys are doing good where you are. What's it like in New York?
I'm telling you, it's gonna be brisk here until Al Gore cries uncle.
Yeah. We're trying to start the show now in riveting fashion by talking about the weather. That's our new thing. We're going to begin each show with talking about the weather.
It's crazy. All the polling shows of top 10 topics, most people prefer the weather.
The weather.
That's
indeed.
number one. It's like it's not a plurality, but it's like 47%.
It's a good way to ease people into things, I think. You know, can't offend people too much right out of the gate with weather talk, right?
It's a hot one there, Earl.
Indeed. Indeed. We want to start out the show tonight by taking our first super chat from Evan LA. The Jews with the OO.
Jews in the house.
That was one of my favorite lines in South Park when they're building the ladder to heaven. You know, they're building a ladder thinking they can get all the way to heaven if they keep building a ladder. And they keep building it into the clouds and they're not getting into heaven. And Cartman says, it's not working because one of us is a JOO. I like the spelling of that with the O. Thank you, Evan. I appreciate it. And let's get out our singing bowl early for Charlie, who just became a YouTube member. Thank you very much for your support, Charlie. We appreciate that. There we go. Active in the chat already. Got a great crowd in here to start the show. 259 strong. That's what we like to see. Please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button. If you notice, folks, we are inching up towards that 10,000 subscriber mark. 9.74. Not too shabby for a couple of JOOs. With not much else to do. But hit that subscribe button.
All right. For fans of the shelves, I've got some tragic news related to my bookshelves needing U.S. intervention. I'm going to fix them, man, because they are going to collapse pretty soon. It's starting to look, I'm starting to get concerned. So I you know, a lot of people have said, I'll come fix yourself. I know how to do it. It's not that big a deal. So yes, these are getting fixed in like the next couple weeks. The shelves would be no more. Yeah, really, that's going to be how you know the episodes, like before shelves,
right?
After shelves,
pre-shelf adjustment and post. Exactly.
Yeah. It might take a while though. I mean, my theory is that I can flip these shelves over after I give it the extra bracket, and they'll just kind of, you know, settle. I hope it works that way.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it probably is easy enough to do. Although, like I've said, and like we've said in shows past, you know, the ceilings in that room are pretty high. So that shelf goes way up. What is it? 8? I think we counted. I think it's 9 shelves.
It's going to be an enormous pain in the ass.
Look at that. I mean, that's a lot of books. That is a big, big bookshelf there. So, I just keep it very simple here. Little high school yearbook photo backdrop. But we have some stuff to get to this evening. We have some really interesting main segments for you guys tonight. We have some headlines. We also have what I think is a fairly significant announcement for real, actually. Something that we're pretty excited to announce, which we will announce between our headlines and our main segment. We also have...
This is a big one. This is a big announcement.
This is a big announcement. We also have a not so big announcement from the Extra Bulla campaign, which we will get to in due time as well. But I promised you guys an exclusive.
Sometimes I think you want to fail, Keaton. Talk it up.
Yeah, we will get there. We will get there for sure.
See, this is why the left loses right here.
I know we don't know how to sell ourselves. That's the thing.
That's it. You're full of doubt. Yeah, I've had enough of this Hamlet shit. Okay,
full of insecurity and communism.
Less Hamlet, more Macbeth.
Yeah, there you go. Less Hamlet, more Macbeth. I buy that. Or less Hamlet, more Iago, even. You know, driven,
more
really
Iago.
Driven.
Sure,
I mean, we do it for good purposes. Iago was a villain, but he had that drive, right? A lot of the most, Shakespeare's most driven characters were always the bad
Yeah,
ones. Lady
Richard,
Macbeth.
Richard the Third.
Yeah, Richard III, Lady Macbeth, Iago, exactly.
More Henry V. How about that?
I'm not enough of a Shakespeare scholar to know exactly what. I didn't read most of the history plays. I read the tragedies and the comedies.
We happy few.
Yeah.
And he who fights with me today shall be my brother.
See, we're starting every show out in very entertaining fashion, weather and Shakespeare to start the show. And then we start getting into the stuff you really came for. But let's get started here with our first headline of the night. This is from Newsweek.
That is the St. Crispin's Day speech. If we're as popular as you say in Ireland, there's not a person out on the Emerald Isles that would not know that line.
Well, let's see. If you know that line, post in the chat. Students are refusing to pay back their loans when the payment pause ends. According to Newsweek here, this is an article that just came out. Some college graduates are suggesting there should be a general boycott on repaying student loans once the current federal loan payment pause ends in the summer. The debt ceiling deal agreed between President Biden and Speaker McCarthy says the pause, initially introduced as a temporary measure during the coronavirus pandemic, will cease to be effective from 60 days after June 30th. You know, the media is really giving McCarthy that win for nothing. I mean, that was really, how do we know that was part of the deal? Didn't they announce that was expiring like 2 weeks before they actually made the debt ceiling deal?
Yeah, it was something that McCarthy used
to sell to the conservative.
To sell it to the conservative.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it was very transparent. Everyone knew that they had already decided they weren't extending it again.
Yeah, we've known that forever. So what's this? Oh, this was part
of
the deal.
The only way you could even stretch that is to say, well, he might have gone back on it and now his hands are tied.
Now his hands are going to be much more tied. Ro Khanna did an interview with Brianna Joy Gray, where he once again made a little bit of a fool of himself.
I need to watch that. I heard she did a very good job there.
She did do a good job, and we would have covered it, but we just covered Ro Khanna on the debt ceiling last week. We thought it would be a little redundant. But yeah, that was well done on her part. And yeah, he's such a worthless coward. But here are some of their sources here that they're using to drum up speculation that a boycott might be coming down the pike here. One Twitter user from Detroit, talk about, using little things to try and make big things, right? We could all just refuse to pay our student loans, LOL. If there were mass collective action, they wouldn't be able to do shit. So here's Carrie Lynn Reinard, who teaches communication arts and sciences at Dominican University, wrote, people should just refuse en masse to pay their student loans back when payment resumes this summer. What will happen? Tank your credit scores and no one can afford a home ever? Oh, gee, how horrible. No repayment without equal financial burden across the country. That's a clever tweet because obviously students aren't able to buy homes now because they're saddled with the debt. So that's the point she's making there. I thought that was well said. A third Twitter user wrote, we really should all just refuse to pay our student loans. It's easier to do nothing if you're already doing nothing. Another user from Iowa City posted, goodbye to my credit score. I refuse to pay back student loan interest. I'm sorry, not to pay back, to back pay student loan interest. Right. So one of the things they're talking about doing is not just restarting student loans, but they're talking about whacking you for that interest that was accrued during the pause, which you talk about something that should spark a boycott and a student loan repayment strike. Obviously it should. And obviously we encourage that kind of mass action. But you know who doesn't?
Well, but they suspended the interest, though. It wasn't like set aside. It was suspended. No interest during that period.
Yeah, but now they're talking about charging back interest. They're talking about charging back interest. So that's what that
who's talking about it.
We'll see. We'll see what the final plan is. But people are saying. Who knows?
Yeah,
look, there's nothing.
Mr. Burns up on the hill.
Yeah, there's nothing they won't do.
We should charge them that interest now that we have them where we want them, Smithers.
Exactly. Well, like I said, I'd be fully supportive of a strike in that way, of a student debt boycott in that way. But you know who wouldn't? Mr. Joe Biden accomplishments guy on Twitter. If you remember that handle, we featured him in the previous show. I forget what segment it was. But this is a guy.
Is that the like low rent Shaggy?
Yeah, right. Well, it's I joked on Twitter, maybe it's Joe Biden's burner account, but I don't know if he's sophisticated enough or savvy enough to know what a burner account is or how to use one. But this is a Biden Stan account that just, does PR for Joe Biden. He's got about 70,000 followers.
He thinks a burner account is what he used to have with Heidi Fleiss.
Exactly. Good one. We should have a kick drum for that. But here's what Biden accomplishments guy thinks of a student debt repayment strike. If you do this, not only will you go into default and burn your credit, but the loan servicer can garnish your wages at a higher level than if you went on an IDR plan. People like this don't actually give a crap about your well-being. They'll let you suffer for the LOLs, for the LOLs. So I don't know if he's talking about the Stop Cop City accounts who posted that, or James Bickerton, who wrote the Newsweek article, as you can see in the byline there, or the various tweeters who expressed their resistance to entering into a student loan repayment plan. So I don't know who he's talking about. The people like this don't actually give a crap about your well-being. You know who obviously doesn't give a crap about your well-being? The Biden accomplishments guy Twitter handle, and for that matter, Joe Biden himself. We have talked at length about the fact that this student debt relief executive action seems like it was engineered to fail at the Supreme Court level because it used the COVID emergency justification as opposed to the Higher Education Act of 1965, which would have made a much more sound case. But here you have, this is sort of a low rent version of Brooklyn Dad Defiant or Politics Girl, or Harry Sisson, the real A team of paid DNC shills. There's them, and then there's the minor leaguers like these guys, the Biden accomplishments guy, the backbenchers, suspect, is not on the payroll. I suspect this guy is just a good old-fashioned, salt-of-the-earth, authentic, true blue shitlib who's out here just doing damage control for Joe Biden. And look, this is like, if you do this, it's the same thing. The parliamentarian said we couldn't raise the minimum wage. The Supreme Court's going to strike this down. We have to play by the rules. We're not like the Republicans. We're not like Trump. We play by the rules. We believe in democracy. So if the Supreme Court says you got to pay the debt back with interest, you got to pay the debt back with interest. Don't get any ideas about mass collective action. No. Can't have that.
Yeah, we should really make like a Rocky kind of movie about, a third string shitlib influencer trying to make it to the top.
Yeah.
At the beginning, they're only getting like 45 views. You play the sad music. You see their like dingy apartment, and then they have a breakout tweet. You do the whole heroic arc. It's. I mean, if you've ever talked to shitlibs, and I know all of our people have, what's most remarkable about that tweet is, that's pretty much how these fucking people think. Like, it's not for anyone with a brain. It's for those people, right? Because those are the people who would sign up to the account and make it a thing. Right. Those are the people who would read that and go, yeah, God damn it. Don't get any ideas about not paying back the loans. Don't do that shit. You're just going to fuck yourself up. It's for those people. It's not for us. I don't think we're ever going to be following this shit.
Right.
But yeah, you talk to the shitlibs, man. Like, it's amazing how easy it is to just tell them something completely absurd like that. And they'll just repeat it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, now they have the perfect framework to sort of justify those kinds of excuses, because any deference to the system now is seen as a virtue amongst these people, right? So whether it's the parliamentarian saying we can't raise the minimum wage, or whether it's Joe Biden saying no, I don't want to abolish the filibuster to pass this and that, or whether it's abiding by a terrible Supreme Court ruling. This is all, these all provide opportunities.
Or the parliamentarian.
Right, and the parliamentarian.
That was one of the most glaring examples of their stupidity that I've ever seen. And I'm sure he doesn't watch the show. I've mentioned this before. My father is like a character out of a fucking Tom Waits song, man. That guy trains horses and lives at the fucking track. All right. And my father's like, yeah, this is like the lost Tom Waits track. Senate parliamentarian ruled against that wage increase.
Yeah.
We couldn't have no higher wages. I'm like, Dad, these fucking people wouldn't piss on you if you were on fire. A guy like you has lived this fucking bohemian professional gambler horse trainer life who lives above a fucking stable. They don't give a fuck about you. What are you defending this for? But for these boomers, these people of that generation, it's the frog in the pot of boiling water. I think all of the institutions they grew up trusting became this monstrous thing slowly, and they just don't realize that they're Republicans now.
Yeah, I mean that is what happened. I mean that is how this realignment happened, right? Certain factions of the Democratic base became more sort of sympathetic to Republican arguments of old. You know, just reverence for the system, reverence for the structures, reverence for the institutions, right? To the point where I remember in 2016 with the DNC, with the balloons and everything at the convention, CNN says, you know, the Democrats have reclaimed patriotism. And they said, you know, this could have been Ronald Reagan's convention. It's all that. It's all part of that. You know?
Right.
All right. We'll take another super chat here. Actually, we'll take a couple of chats. Russell, do you have that headline from the train crash you wanted to? Is that ready to share? We're going to go to that.
The headline? Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
We don't need to share.
Do we want to do the film or do we want to do the headline first?
We'll do the headline first. I can do the film on my end. Just want to make sure you had that because I know you're going to read.
Yeah, I got it.
Before we jump into that, we'll take a few chats. Russell, I'm assuming you flagged this yourself. So you want to answer that?
I did. All right. So look,
Cheryl Manning, let me just read it for the audio people.
Okay. Yeah.
How long are you going to let the Vanguard boys talk behind your back before you have them on your show?
All right. So like here and there, when we're covering something that relates to them, we'll check them out. And sometimes we'll see them talking shit, or sometimes we'll have people tell us to check it out. But we don't like watch the Vanguard. Like if they're talking shit, we're not really aware of it. Beyond that, who cares? They're so stupid. Like if you ask why we wouldn't have them on the show, like I guess we would in theory. I don't feel any compelling need to ask them because they're so dumb.
Yeah, what
like they're so fundamentally stupid. It's like,
well, I don't know what.
Why don't you have my neighbor's cat on your show and ask them what they think about politics? Like,
I watched a lot of Vanguard the week that Marianne stuff was happening.
Yeah, that's when we had to watch it.
Yeah, I thought they might have something.
Yeah, it was related to a story we were doing.
Right. But I haven't really watched since. And I don't really know what we would talk to them about, although that does sort of tease out the announcement we're going to make.
It teases the announcement. So this is basically, yes. And you'll see when we get to the announcement, the contrast. We don't have enough respect for them to care about having them on. We don't respect them intellectually enough to bother. That's why we don't make a point of having them on. Like, right. Yeah, it would get a lot of views, it would get a lot of clicks, but come on, man. Like I'm not going to say that we never have a story. And we're going to get into this too a little bit later. That we never have a story where like, oh yeah, this is going to have a lot of views, but we never pick a story for that reason. It's nice when it lines up that way, when something we want to do also has a lot of audience potential.
Right.
But that would purely be for the clicks because there's not what's going to come out. Like, what would we talk to them about?
Yeah, there's really nothing to talk about. I agree. All right, we'll take one more and then we will save some others for later. Russell, Henry V's speech is such an English cultural centerpiece. Irish people might be offended by your assumption. Shaw trumps Shakespeare.
You know what? I did think of that as I was saying it, but it is part of a common kind of cultural inheritance among the English-speaking world. And I would think, correct me if I'm wrong. I would think that I've been to Ireland, but I wasn't really looking at that or trying to figure that out. I would think it has a big presence there. Like I would think it does. Shakespeare, I would imagine. Tell me if I'm wrong. I would think like it's big in any English speaking country, but I would think more so because of your geographic proximity to England.
All right. Well, let's go to a different part of the world, one that Russell visited recently, to India. There's horrible news out of India this week. Russell, do you want to pull that screen share up and read from that headline? This is from Al Jazeera, given the recent developments about the horrible train crash in India. So go ahead, take it away.
Yeah. Okay. So they had, you can see a picture of the wreck there. They had a major train disaster. At least 288 people have been confirmed dead and more than 1,000 injured in what is India's deadly train crash in decades. They actually had one in 1981 where the train went off a bridge and killed 800 people. So that was worse than this, but still. So here's some more images of the accident. So now investigating, apparently someone's going to be held accountable. They're looking for somebody to hang over this. Railway Minister Ashwini Vaishnaw, my apologies in advance for my pronunciation, said the crash had occurred due to a change in electronic interlocking and that an investigation would show who was responsible for that mistake. An electronic interlocking system is designed to keep railways safe by controlling train movements, operating signals and level crossings, establishing routes, and checking rail sections are free. So apparently what happened was this malfunctioned. The train was supposed to be sent straight, and it got sent into a turn that sent it smashing right into, I think it was a coal car that was already on the track. And then when it derailed, it got hit by another passenger train that was on the other track. So the opposition party is claiming that part of this is the fault of the Modi government neglecting maintenance. So this is a tweet. Here's our detailed statement on the Odisha train tragedy. It goes well beyond headline politics to the very core of how rail safety and track renewals have taken a back seat, while high-profile inaugurations and an obsession with speed get priority. So India's railway network is the world's fourth largest after the US, Russia, and China. Carries 13 million people on 14,000 passenger trains every day. And it's run by Indian Railways, which is a state monopoly. And I can tell you from having been there, and we're going to show some footage of that, a lot of these trains go back to the Raj. Like a lot of these are refurbished trains from the 40s. The British built this railway system, and they're still using a lot of the same trains. Modi had been scheduled to unveil a new express line between Goa and Mumbai in Western India on Saturday. Instead, he visited the crash site in Odisha, where he promised that those responsible would be punished. Now, this I'm glad I did not know before I went on a trip to India that's centered on the rail system and using rail transport. Hundreds of accidents occur every year on India's railways, with most of them blamed on human error or outdated signaling equipment. According to India's National Crime Records Bureau, there were roughly 100,000 railway-related deaths in the country between 2017 and 2021. In a December report, the Comptroller and Auditor General of India flagged 24 factors responsible for derailments. The report, titled Derailments in Indian Railways, which investigated derailments between April 2017 and March 2021, found that inadequate maintenance of tracks was one of the main contributors to such accidents.
That's just an astounding number. 100,000?
100,000. That's what I'm saying. I'm glad I didn't know that before I went. In October 2018, a commuter train tore into a crowd which had gathered to celebrate the Hindu festival of Dussehra in Amritsar in northern Punjab state, killing at least 59 people and injuring many more. This is the one I was talking about. India's deadly railway accident, deadliest, was in 1981 when a train plunged off a bridge into a river in Bihar state, killing an estimated 800 people. So that's just a horrible story. Having been there, I can tell you the train, it might be fourth behind, and the United States might be number one. I don't think we use trains as the life's blood of our transportation network in the way that India does. They really use the trains. It's a backbone of their train. Like we don't ride Amtrak that much. Like Indian railways would be like if Amtrak were the main way that people got around the country. So there's a lot of activity there.
Yeah. I want to bring up Ellen. Ellen is a member, so she has permanent super chat status. So we're always on the eye, have an eye out for Ellen's chats. And this is a good point. There would have to be similarities between the train crashes in East Palestine and India, the many of them, and Athens. Was there one recently in Athens that I don't know about?
I think there was another one. Yeah, it didn't get as much press as the East Palestine one did.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think that's a good point. I mean, look, one thing that India and the United States have in common, and here, this one is for all the tankies out there. This is for all you. Neither the United States nor India has had a socialist revolution. Notice this doesn't happen in China very often, does it? You got the trains running pretty good over there. And that's one of the big differences that you see between a country like India with just skyrocketing poverty rates and, a country like its neighbor to the north. They have an infrastructure that runs. But let's, speaking of infrastructure, I think this would be a good time to set up the video that Russell actually showed. Now, Russell was kind of joking around about the trains when he was there, which in retrospect, it doesn't seem all that funny, but it kind of I guess it kind of struck you when you were editing this. That's why you put this together. It kind of struck you when you were there that the trains were a little bit perhaps unsafe. So let's go to your video, shall we?
Yes, we shall. And then I will comment afterwards.
Okay.
So these are not homeless people here. This is that when people wait for their trains, they just go to sleep on the floor waiting for the train.
Hello, dissidents. What I like when you get outside of America is you have a concept called assumed risk. So, for example, in America, they would never just kind of leave the doors hanging open on a speeding train and leave it up to you whether you want to just hang out and take the risk. But in India, you can do this, right? Right.
Ape shall not kill ape. Get your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty apes.
So there you have it. One thing that always strikes me in any country outside the United States is it's funny because we call ourselves the land of the free. And we have this insane obsession with safety to the point that it's stifling. Life comes with a certain amount of risk. If you go, I actually had somebody Courtney will know about this. She's in the chat. I have an old friend from college who really bought into the whole Schmovid regime. And I put a picture up on my Facebook because I couldn't believe this. I went into the subway at 34th Street, and they have they put in a vending machine of PPE.
Right.
Now, not a year ago, not 2 years ago. Now they just put this in.
That would have been a good idea in like 2020.
Yeah, you could get gloves, you can get
Yeah.
masks,
Yeah.
you can get the whole thing. And,
Could have made a killing on that. God damn it.
Could have made a lot of money. But look, man, I mean that's there for a certain kind of person whose brain was just broken by Schmovid, and they think that's a really good idea. So I had a friend jump onto my Facebook like, "What's wrong with that?" You know, didn't see any problem with that. Now India is kind of to the other extreme. Or, you know, other places I've been. I don't know if I've told the story. And when I went to Costa Rica, I went to a rodeo in a small town. And at first I didn't understand what I was seeing because everybody jumped down into the ring when the bull was out there. And I thought the matador had gotten into trouble and they were being very chivalrous, trying to save the matador. And then when it kept happening, I realized that this was the custom. If anyone wants to jump in the ring with the bull, you can. So you get, 20, 30 guys every time the bull comes out would jump into the ring, which of course, some of them will get jacked. Some of them will get run over by the bull.
Of course, yeah.
Who are you going to sue?
Right. What are you going to do?
You try to sue someone, they're going to laugh. So same thing when I was in India, like that, this train's speeding by. You got speeding trains going by the door. I loved hanging out by the door because it was such a fascinating landscape, just looking at everything out there. But yeah, it was fucking dangerous, man. These trains are jumping around and shit. And I would just be standing there by the door. And yeah, man, nobody told you can't do it. And look, when you have that, and just people, I tried to capture that a little bit in the video. You see the people like running for the train, like you have that all the time, like people on the tracks, jumping onto the train, jumping off of the train. You have people laying right next to the train tracks. You have people working down there who are like clearly day laborers shoveling as the train is going by. Like 100,000 is a lot at the same time based on what I witnessed about the safety culture there. It's not surprising on the other hand, right? I mean, it's definitely not run in a way that was very tight.
Yeah, well, I mean, I see some people commenting on the chat that they're true. It's not as litigious an environment over there. Liability insurance isn't there what it is here, right? As you said, there's more assumed risk. But yeah, I mean, I couldn't believe that number, 100,000 people.
I mean, that's a lot. That's
in 4 years.
And also look on these trains, they're packed. You got people walking back and forth constantly. You got the sleeper cars with usually they'll have 4 fold down bunks. Those are almost always full. Whenever I was on a train in India, they were always full. They were always packed with people.
Right.
So there's that too. If something does go wrong with one of these trains, you're not going to have a half full train. You're going to have a train packed end to end with people.
Exactly. All right. Well, we have a few announcements here to wrap up the headline portion of the show. I want to thank one of our viewers for sending me this link that I'm about to put up on the screen here. This is a really interesting story that we want to do a more thorough job covering. And so we have this slated for Thursday to do a more comprehensive segment on this. But this is a case that is now before the Supreme Court about the ICWA. This is the Indian Child Welfare Act here. I'm sorry, the Indian Child Welfare Association, which is set up to defend the National Indian Child Welfare Act, which was passed in 1978. That is now being challenged in the Supreme Court, Bracken versus Holland. Now, this is a case regarding the sort of adoption privileges. I'm sure there are other facets of this that we will look into more thoroughly, but the crux of it, from what I could see in the limited time that I had to look into it, is that the ICWA affords adoption privileges to Native American parents of Native American children. And there's a case before the court that is sort of alleging that is racial discrimination against whites. And the reason why it's important to beat this case back is because the tribal associations that these Indian children have and that the Indian parents have are actually considered political groups by the government currently. They are not racial identities. They are not treated as racial identities, but rather a political group, which affords them certain rights and certain protections that, if stripped away, could open the door to the stripping of all other kinds of privileges, rights, and protections that Native peoples enjoy right now. Or I shouldn't say enjoy, I say are afforded to them to compensate for the fact that it's their fucking country and it was stolen from them, right? And so this website here has a petition that you could sign if you want to get more involved and look it up more. I encourage you to take a look at that. You could sign their petition here on the website. The link is in the description of this video. Like I said, we are going to talk more about this on Thursday. We're going to even try to get a guest in here to talk more about it, because the more I was reading about it, the more I wanted to read more. And so we want to do it justice by doing a proper
We want to do a deep dive.
But we didn't have time to prep that this week. But because there is a case before the court now, it is kind of urgent. So I just wanted to put it on your guys' radar. If you want to check that out, click the link in the comments. In the description of this video, and you can go to that website and read more and sign if you want to. I advise you to do that. So thank you to, I believe it was Nicole. I apologize if I'm getting your name wrong, who sent that to us. It was a long name, but I thought it was Nicole. If it's not, I'm sorry about that. But thank you for sending it our way, and we will look into it more and talk more about that on Thursday, because it seems like a really interesting and worthwhile issue to talk about.
I hear Elizabeth Warren is going to be very involved in it.
On Tusker beat you. What's the big deal?
No, that's what I was commenting.
Oh, that's what you were commenting on. Yeah. Indeed.
I'm afraid to put our comments up. You saw what happened last time I tried.
Yeah, exactly.
I was bad Tusker.
Here's a Tusker super chat, by the way. You can't throw the tea into the harbor. We have to work inside the British colonial system. Regarding the student debt boycott. Good one, Tusker. Thank you. Thank you so much. Tip jar is out, folks. We're going to do our Patreon plug in a few minutes. But like I said, the more super chats, the more patrons, the more Substack members, the more YouTube members we get signed up, the more content we can create. We can announce, by the way. We can announce, by the way,
super chats, yo.
Our next Patreon and Substack exclusive live stream will be a week from tomorrow. So that'll be June 12th over on Rumble. The way that works is we send out emails to our Patreon members and our paid Substack subscribers the night before that stream. And we will be live on an unlisted private Rumble stream for patrons and paid Substack subscribers only. That will be a week from tomorrow, Monday, June 12th. The last one was a lot of fun. We had a great crowd. We had a great time, and we're looking forward to this one. We already have a couple of stories picked out that we're going to feature. One of the things we like to do on those patron exclusive streams, since we're over on Rumble, where we're allowed to speak freely, we cover things that we might not be able to cover here on the main channel. So it was a lot of fun last time. It's going to be a lot of fun this time. When you sign up at patreon.com, you get 2 bonus streams per month. And then we clip segments from those as short form video pieces to send out to the patrons and the paid Substack subscribers. If you can join, please do.
The next one, I've mentioned this a few times, that I put together a drag kids montage for our Buck segment that Keaton wisely said, no, man, that could get us thrown off.
Yeah, you can't show. There are certain things. Yeah, so exactly. Yeah. So there's going to be some stuff like that we can play over on a private channel.
Because I'm going to cover the ruling that they just had in Tennessee, which, by the way, I agree with the ruling about that the law banning drag from public places was overly broad, and they already have obscenity
Yeah, they struck
laws
the ban.
covering what they, which I agree with. But we're going to talk about the issue more broadly, and I'll finally be able to use that video.
All right. So we have right now a special announcement. It looks like they're ready. All right. So we're going to go to Extra Bulla. Just listening, just making sure they're ready for this. Okay. Looks like they're set. Okay. So Extra Bulla is running for president in 2024. He is our candidate of choice, as you all know. And he was inspired by Ron DeSantis's campaign announcement on Twitter Spaces. So he was actually able to one-up him and set up a special launch of his own on TikTok. So right now, it looks like it is 7:49. Looks like they are ready to go. So we're going to go live to Extra Bulla on TikTok for a very special and revolutionary campaign announcement. First time this has ever been done on TikTok, that a candidate has made a formal speech exclusive to TikTok. So let's go to Extra Bulla right now, live on TikTok.
Hey, I'm Uncle Warren. I'm also known as Extra Bulla.
Wait, what? What is this?
I'm on your platform to make my big official announcement. It's not every day you meet the owner of a billion-dollar company either.
It's nice to meet you too, sir. I'm not the owner. I'm just an intern assigned to your event.
I guess I shouldn't be surprised that the owner of TikTok wouldn't speak to me personally.
I'm sorry. Did you say TikTok? Because I'm sorry. This is Tic Tac.
You mean the X's and O's game?
No, that's Tic Tac Toe. We're just Tic Tac.
Like the candy?
I mean, it's a breath mint, but yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Why the fuck would I launch my presidential campaign on TikTok?
Wait, you're running for president?
Yes. What, you didn't know that?
You're not one of those, what do you call it, woke people, are you? Because we really can't afford a boycott right now. Mentos is already eating up a lot of our market share, and we would really appreciate if you stay off of, the hot button issues of the day.
Just shut up and let me do my speech.
Well, sorry, sir. Hold on. I apologize. We're having some technical issues. I think our servers are a bit overwhelmed at the moment. We've never had a crowd like this in here before. Just a lot of people watching. I think it's melting the servers.
How many do we have?
11.
11,000?
No.
Can we share the stream to the Mentos site?
That didn't work out.
What have you been saying all along?
It's like I've been saying, Marianne Williamson is going to be your next president.
Yeah, Marianne Williamson. We've been saying that all along.
Well, now that Peter came out and finally once and for all put to bed these 30-year rumors of Marianne's insanity, now I think her campaign is in a good place.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Right. Now they can sort of brush all of that off.
Yeah.
And,
fuck Mike Nichols and the AIDS charity he wrote in
exactly,
on.
Yeah.
All that stuff's just total bullshit.
Exactly. All right.
Mike Nichols made The Graduate.
Yes.
The Graduate.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's all
I'm Long ways back.
I've got one word for you, Keaton. What is it? Plastics.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. When did I see The Graduate? I haven't seen The Graduate in I saw that as a kid. I've never seen that as an adult. I should rewatch that as an adult. I saw that when I was like 13.
Mrs.
14.
Robinson.
Yeah, Mrs. Robinson.
You're trying to seduce me.
Yeah. Folks, patrons are the backbone of the show. Like I said, we're doing a Patreon exclusive stream a week from tomorrow. Tomorrow, by the way, we will be on Revolutionary Blackout Network with our friends Nick and CJ and Kit from Hardlands Media. The Post-Duopoly show continues tomorrow on YouTube and Rumble. I'm assuming they're going to simulcast that to Rumble as well. So you can go over there 8 p.m. Check that out. That'll be a lot of fun. Our friend Jose Vega is restarting his YouTube show. We're going to be on Jose's show on Wednesday at 8 p.m. That's this upcoming Wednesday. So what is that, 5th, 6th? That'll be June 7th at 8 p.m. So please go over there and check us out. That is called Declaring Independence. I'll be sure to tweet out the link. But we are currently editing a documentary that we shot on Jose Vega. We hope to have that out probably end of this month, mid next month. It should be ready. I'm guessing we'll have an announcement on that fairly soon, I think, coming along. But we are, like I said, guesting on RBN for the Post-Duopoly show tomorrow at 8 p.m. And then Wednesday, once again, at 8 p.m. Patreon members and paid Substack subscribers, like I said, the backbone of the show. We shout you guys out at sort of the headline to main segment segue part of each show, so we get a nice big crowd in here to see your name up in lights. Thank you guys all very, very much. Just going to give this piece a chance to scroll, and then we have another scroll coming up. We're almost exhausted 2 Patreon scrolls, so we're going to have to probably make up like a graphic, because now we have exhausted almost 2 1,000 character limited scrolls. So there is our second of the 2 Patreon scrolls there. I do want to highlight a chat from our member Jessica. It's interesting that you wrote this, Jessica, because I've seen a lot of chirping about this. But this is the other main announcement that we wanted to make. So let me put this up on a screen here. Status Quo actually did good reporting on East Palestine and the weapon being transported through there. Shake my head. I've seen some other people talking about Jordan and Status Quo in the chat. So tonight, what we were planning on doing, as of last night, we were planning on covering a Jordan Chariton bit that got some play because CJ from RBN tweeted out a little piece of a live stream that he did where he was talking about how you have a lot of sort of hardcore Dem exiters who are all of a sudden enthralled by the candidacy of RFK. And doesn't that present a certain sort of inconsistency where how can you on the one hand say you're done with the Democrats no matter what, and on the other hand run back in when RFK is running, which oddly enough, I mean, that's a similar point to the point that we have been making.
That's been our position.
That's been what we have said. So we were going to cover that because we have had our disagreements with Jordan in the past. We've covered him a couple of times. But we also were in touch with him late last year. I think it was around December or something like that. It was at the end of the year. And we were in touch with him because we mentioned him on a live stream, and then he DM'd me because I guess a friend of his referred him to the stream that we did. And we had a little bit of a back and forth, and I invited him on the show to talk about the infighting in the sort of online left world because he had just published a Substack article about that at the time. And that's what we were covering in the segment that he reached out to me with some feedback on. And so I said, well, sure. He was on leave at the time. He had just had a baby. And so he said, you know, when I'm back, maybe we can get back in touch. Right. So, you know, that never really happened. But since we were going to cover that little monologue of Jordan's on tonight's show, that's what we had planned. Russell said, you know what, why don't we, if we're going to cover it, why don't we just reach out to him and see if he wants to come on and talk about it with us to have a sort of debate of sorts, right? And so I said, okay, sure. So I sent him a DM. A few minutes later, he got back to me with what I will, you know, describe as, you know, a fairly emphatic no, not interested type message. But he then messaged me back a couple minutes later with some feedback.
We sent him a video of us with the tassels.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we lured him in. No. No, he sent me back a message later. You know, I left it at that, but he sent me back a message a couple minutes after that.
Keaton had to meet him behind the bus station.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Giving me, you know, some feedback about the show that we do. Apparently, he's watched a couple of pieces that we've done, you know, over the past few months. And so, you know, being that he started a conversation again, you know, I tried to convince him, hey, you know, listen, we're not going to ambush you or anything. You know we have some disagreements with you. We know there's a lot of sort of fissures in this online left space. And I think the RFK candidacy provides a sort of good fodder for a conversation about where those divisions lie and what issues they're really about. And, you know, why some people have gone one way and some people have gone a different way. And so I said, you know, if you want to come on to talk about it, you know, we'd love to have you. We're not going to ambush you. I'm sure it'll be a debate of sorts, but we're not going to advertise it as a pro wrestling debate me bro type bullshit thing. And so I said, you know, if you'd like to come on, we'll have you on. And eventually he said, okay, I'll come on. So we have a tentative date set for Sunday, June 11th, a week from tonight. We are going to have Jordan Chariton on to hash these things out. So like I said, that will be something different because we don't usually do debate shows. We don't usually bring people on with the expectation that we're going to have disagreements with them. But we are doing that, and I think it'll be a good talk. One of the reasons, and I told him this in our DM exchange, one of the reasons I think we've only really critiqued him twice is because despite the differences that we do have with him, I do respect a lot of the work that he does, especially as Jessica said, sending a camera crew out to Ohio, sending camera crews down to Atlanta for Cop City, particularly
Standing Rock.
Yeah, no, I mean he puts his money where his mouth is. He invests that money back into the show, obviously in ways that a lot of creators don't. Some creators say they're going to, like TYT, Vanguard guys. They say they're going to, and they don't. Right? He actually goes ahead and does it, and I know for a fact
the van's still in the shot.
Exactly, still in the shot, and I know for a fact that East Palestine coverage that he does is a money pit. Because you could see that is not click-friendly content. It is very expensive to send camera guys out there. It is very expensive to do remote live streams like that. It costs a lot of time and resources to do that. And I know from looking at the view counts, he's making almost none of that back. I mean, literally almost none of it.
And I know who his camera guy is in New York. I have never gone to an event and not seen his camera guy there.
Yeah.
Camera guy is at every event.
Yeah. So I said, Jordan, we would love to have you on for a talk. I'm sure we're going to disagree on plenty, but it's not going to be a hostile thing. Why don't you come on? And so he said, sure. And so that's what we're going to do. And so we're going to have him on the 11th, 1 week from tonight. I'm really looking forward to it because I think this is a conversation that's been a long time coming. You know what I mean? That I haven't really seen hashed out in this way.
And I don't think anybody's really done this, and he's the perfect person to do it with because we respect him. I mean, and that's why I said, building on the question we got earlier, why did you have Vanguard on? We don't respect them. What's there to talk about? Jordan has done a lot. So that's somebody, look, I know a lot. There's definitely, and I think this is part of what we'll talk about. And we've mentioned this on the show before. When you get into this space, there are these perverse incentives, which is something that in our DM conversation with Jordan, he did bring up in a roundabout way that, you can get sucked into doing these kind of crappy, he said, she said kind of a show and, it distracts you from the real stuff. And yeah, look, we can read a view count, and so can you. I mean, go look at the view counts on our union segments, and go look at our view counts on Crystal said some shit to somebody segments. Go take a look.
Right, of course, yeah.
Now, of course, what we try to do is, we cover what we want to cover, whether it's going to get view counts or not. When we cover controversy, basically our unwritten rule for ourselves is we'll cover it if it has a broader point. If there's a broader point. Now, there's definitely this tendency for some people to just feed these controversies and rule people out of bounds. And I got to say, with somebody like Jordan, if a guy doing that kind of reporting, and as Keaton says, I'm sure at a loss, where's the profit coming from on sending these camera crews out all the time like that?
Oh, those videos get 2,000 or 3,000 views each. They're making literally $8 or $9 each in YouTube money. Like it's nothing. Like it's practically zero.
Right. So if somebody like that is out of bounds, we have cultivated an audience that really hates the woke people, right? And what's one of the things we always say we hate so much about them? If you disagree on one thing, you're evil. You're excommunicated. You have to agree on every single thing. I don't think that's healthy. I think you got to look at the totality. You don't have to agree on every single point with somebody. You don't have to rule them an enemy of the people. Frankly, let's get real, man. Neither me nor Keaton, nor I think anybody in the chat has put their money where their mouth is as much as Jordan has. So what? That person's out of bounds because you disagree with them on a point? You sit down and you talk about it, and so that's what we're going to do. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Me too. So that'll be Sunday at 7:00. Also, the great thing about that is it'll be its own show, pretty much. That'll be what it is. Like I said, we anticipate many, many points of disagreement. So it's the first time we've ever really gone into something knowing it's going to be kind of a debate. Although, like I said, I'm not going to. It won't be one of these attempts to own
on
anybody
some
or
things
like
and not on others.
Not on others. But that's what will make it interesting. So, looking forward to it. So that'll be Sunday the 11th. That is a tentative date. I'm hoping we can stick to that. That's what he told me. So, I just wanted to announce that because that should be a good one. We're looking forward to it. All right, let's go to speaking of. I don't know if you mentioned trolling in there, but this was some of the best trolling I've seen in a very long time. So much so that
that was a master class in trolling. Basically, Max Blumenthal, Jose Vega, and Kynan should get together and literally get a contract with Masterclass on how to troll the powerful.
Yeah, right. No, exactly. This was about as well done as it gets. So I put out a short video on this the day that it happened, but I only saw half the story because the other half of the story dropped later in the day, which was cool because we got to save it for this evening's stream. But just to catch everybody up, in case you didn't see that short video that I put out, Max Blumenthal on Friday attended the Truman Project conference in Washington, D.C. Now, the Truman Group is a Democrat-aligned group focused on national security and foreign policy, formed after George W. Bush was reelected in 2005. They boast a very diverse board, right? They are truly the woke sort of imperialist left here. And so Max Blumenthal showed some exhibits here just to give you an idea who's sponsoring the conference this year: Lockheed Martin, Palantir, Beacon Global Strategies, and Blue Star. Those are security firms. And he also notes in this photo here that they hand out pronoun name tags on the way in. So on the way in, you can fill out what your pronouns are and put them up on your shirt so that no one misgenders you. That's a very nice and woke thing to do. And then Max asked them what I thought was a pretty good question. Like I said, for those who saw the video that I put out on this on Friday, you will be seeing this for the second time. I hope it's worth it a second time. It's only 40 seconds, so I figure what's the harm in playing it one more time. Here's Max Blumenthal speaking his mind to the panel.
Hello. Max Blumenthal, the Gray Zone. My pronouns are Trump Russia. Lockheed Martin has been identified as one of the most diverse employers in the country. And I was wondering if you knew by any chance how many products or weapons produced by Lockheed Martin, diversity and equity and inclusion bombs have been dropped on the children of Palestine, Yemen, or Syria. And also, do you happen to know off the top if any non-binary U.S. Navy divers were used in blowing up the Nord Stream pipelines?
If anyone has some information, feel free to raise that you can give me the scoop too.
Hey, so that was just an intentional dodge of that answer. They went on to the next question. They didn't feed the trolls there, unfortunately, because they had no answer. But yeah, that was an epic job by Max in that room. But he was
there's a lot of what Norm Finkelstein's book was about, and a lot of what he talks about. Because if you notice, the two women there were black women,
right?
So I look, I would bet you dollars to donuts that if you talk to them, they're gonna be hitting you with all kinds of DEI kind of talking points and equity and all that shit. But meanwhile, they're involved in an industry that's bombing brown people all over the world.
Right. Exactly. And so that's the absurdity that he highlighted pretty perfectly in that line of questioning there. But he was not done. He was not done because the panelists were not the only ones to take the stage that morning. One Rachel Maddow appeared.
Of course she
What
did.
was a speaking engagement for her, apparently. And so during her speech, Max Blumenthal comes up to her and confronts her about
it's
her
like
Russiagate
if you put enough military-industrial complex energy together with woke bullshit in one place, Rachel Maddow will manifest.
Yeah, right. It manifests. Right, exactly. She just materializes. Indeed.
That's it.
All right. So here's Rachel Maddow on stage, and here is Max Blumenthal walking up to her and asking her if she's ever going to be held to account for her Russiagate misinformation. Here we go.
On overthrowing the U.S. government. And members of Congress who were sympathetic.
Rachel, this speech is boring and paranoid. Can you explain why you promoted the Steele? Why did you promote the Steele dossier, which has been proven to be a lie? Why did you promote the lie of Russian bounties?
Come on, let's go.
Can you ever be held accountable for the lies you told Americans for years and years and years? You lied to Americans for years.
Let's go.
Silence is
You're
violence,
out.
Rachel.
You're out.
Okay, so they drag him out of the room. Now, I want you to listen very carefully when he's out of the room and he's in the hallway. You're going to hear a round of applause in a second, but you're not going to hear what it's for. So let's keep your ears open for this.
There you go. You want my badge?
Thank you.
Here you go. I'm walking
In
out
fact,
with
we
you.
can go this way.
Which one?
Elevator right here.
Hear it? There it is.
Rachel Maddow refusing to answer questions about lying about the Steele dossier, lying about Russian bounties, and doing a paranoid speech claiming Nazism is afoot in America. And I'm being thrown out by security now. There was no Q&A. If there was Q&A, I would have politely asked a question.
There you go. So you heard that round of applause coming from inside the hall there. But you didn't hear what prompted it. Luckily, there's video of Maddow's speech. So here, we're going to see her angle, and then we're going to see what she said that prompted that round of applause.
Justice Department under Roosevelt and under Truman contended with ultra-right American zealots and paramilitary groups bent on overthrowing the U.S. government, and members of Congress who were sympathetic to them.
Okay, so there's Max coming up to her. She looks at him, see what his credentials are, I suppose.
I was wondering what that was, right?
Yeah, that's when she goes to look at him. All right, so they take him out. She stands there. She waits. Now, let's hear what that applause line was.
Coming to a Substack newsletter near you.
Don't you love Rachel? She's so witty.
Coming to a Substack newsletter near you. Now, I want to remind everybody.
Those people who have multiple times more readers and viewers than I do.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. I just want to remind everybody who the sponsors of this event are here. Beacon, Blue Star, Lockheed Martin. This is a conference that is being sponsored, being funded by defense contractors and security contractors. You think Rachel Maddow appears here for free?
Justice Department.
Do you think Rachel Maddow gives free speeches to groups like this? No. Rachel Maddow makes a lot of money for her paid speeches. I took a wild guess at what her speaking fee range is. I ballparked it at $50,000 to $100,000. Then I Googled it just to see how close I was, and turns out I was exactly right. $50,000 to $100,000 per speech is what she gets. So what, you think she's coming here for her health? She's getting paid tens of thousands of dollars to be here. Anywhere from 50 to 100 grand. Given this crowd, I would bet it's closer to the 100 grand mark. But let's say it's 50 grand. You're literally taking 50 grand to give a speech to the military industrial complex to parrot their talking points. And you are going to mock and ridicule Substack reporters, Substack writers, Substack journalists as if what? They lack the integrity that they would need or the stature to talk to you. Like they don't deserve to ask you a question. They're not worthy of your ear for a minute because they write for a Substack newsletter. Like I said, you're here making tens of thousands of dollars telling these ghouls what they want to hear. And yet you have the gall to impugn what? Substack? As if independent media is the problem? Look where you are. Look where you are. You are you are the Tucker of the libs. Like you are the top of that pyramid when it comes to like authorities on news in liberal circles, which one is a fucking embarrassment because as Max said, you've never been held to account for the numerous lies that you told over years and years and years of this Russiagate bullshit. And I will remind you, Rachel Maddow is a Rhodes Scholar. She is not a stupid woman. She's a very clever and very cunning person. There is no way that she did not know that at the very least, there was a great chance that 90% of what she was reporting from whatever it was, 2017 through March of 2019, when the Mueller report came out, was nonsense. There's no way a person of her intellect didn't know that she was selling bullshit to morons for 2.5 years. She did it anyway for the same reason she appeared here. She got paid a lot of money to do it. That's what Matt Taibbi writes about in his book. It's absolutely true. And I mean, what better representation of that than this?
Yeah, a moment that broke my heart in my journey away from shit libbery. One of my hardest red pill moments was the moment that she was covering the Sanders debate, one of the debates he had with Clinton, and she framed his answer on abortion, which was very cranky Bernie, like, yeah, we both believe in legal abortion. Can we get to the real issues?
Right. I remember that.
And she framed it as, well, I guess Bernie Sanders doesn't believe that abortion is a real issue. And it was so obvious because, as you say, she's a very smart woman. She understood exactly what was going on there. And it was impossible to watch that and not see the calculation and the framing. And it was one of those moments where I realized, oh my God, everything I thought about this person was a lie. She's absolutely not at all like, it was that moment, that out of the matrix moment that so many people had in the 2016 campaign where you start to realize everything you believed is a lie. And then when she went on to just lie about the Sanders supporters throwing chairs at the Nevada convention, and she resorted to footage of a wrestling match. I'll never forget that because there was no footage because it never happened. So she is a fascinating case study. Like, how do you start out this funny, aware leftist, as Taibbi describes her in his book back in her Air America days? How do you let yourself turn into this? How do you go so far? But it's all of a piece. Like, only somebody like that, somebody who's willing to become that morally compromised, somebody who's willing to shill so completely and unreservedly for the deep state, only someone like that would get this far. You have people with integrity. You never, they have a radio show and it goes off the air and you never hear from them again. Only somebody like this with absolutely no moral center in the end could ever be giving this speech for that kind of money. They're not going to invite anybody who has integrity to do this. She's just such a disgusting example of everything that's wrong with so-called left media. I mean, she's just uses her identity as a woman and as a lesbian
and as a smart woman too, she has that very professorial presentation. She exudes confidence, she exudes competence. Like, she's a pro at that. You know,
Right.
it's almost like you watch her talk, and it's like, how could this be wrong?
Right.
She's saying it, right?
Right.
She has the whole thing down very, very well.
Right. And you know, this is exactly what they love. They love the Maddows, they love the Joy Reids, they love the Al Sharptons, because when you go after them, they can shield them by talking about their identity. Well, you just hate gay women, you just hate black women, you just hate black people, right? That's, you know, I mean, how Chris Hayes has kept his job for as long as he has over there, I don't know.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, well, I have my theories, but Patrick Donahue always annoyed me. Brits wanted credit for building Indian railways, neglecting the fact they built them to extract wealth from their country. Yeah, I mean that is
well, sure.
I mean that's obviously true, and it's a huge railway system. I would like to know how many miles of track there are in India. I mean, it's just got to be an astronomical number. I mean, like you said, I mean, because I know a lot of people in India, they ride the train to work, and they don't ride the train to work like getting on a subway. They'll ride the train 150 miles to work every day. You know, I mean, you have to cover huge swaths of land. All right, we have a couple of super chats here that I guess you starred. You like this one?
Cthulhu or bust.
Cthulhu or bust. And then I guess this one.
I've been saying it the whole time. Cthulhu is going to be our next president. No. I pulled something up. Read Stalin, not what propagandists wrote about Stalin, and I actually found something by Stalin here. My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard.
Yeah.
And they're like, it's better than yours. Damn right. It's better than yours. A more profound expression of Marxism, I don't think you can find.
I thought you were going with the "I drink your milkshake," but that doesn't sound like something Stalin would say.
No. That's a capitalist.
That's
sentiment.
a capitalist thing. Yeah, that's
no.
What did I do? Did I
his
just
communist milkshake is bringing all the workers to the yard. That's
to the yard,
saying.
Right. Sinead, thank you for the $2.
That's the
everyone.
It's the forced
like
labor
the
yard, but it's the yard.
Everyone, please like the stream. Yes, like the stream. Indeed. Please do that. Like the stream. Subscribe to this channel. Where are we at? We're at 97.49, I think. Can we get up to 97.60 by the end of the night? Can 11 of you guys hit that subscribe button if you have not already? Here's an interesting question from Franklin. Thanks for the $4.99, Franklin. Why do I have this urge to be rude to people all the time? I don't know. I mean, that's a question I'm probably not qualified to answer. But, you know, I think to a certain extent, I mean...
Are you getting laid?
That could be one thing. On the other hand, though, I do think it's healthy to recognize that. And, you know, one thing you can do, I don't know what your living situation is, but if you're alone, you can just kind of say those things out loud to yourself when you're alone, get them out of your system. It's kind of like squeezing a stress ball. You know what I mean? I think that's
hang on. Are you drinking that Javalia? That could be doing it.
Yeah, maybe it's the coffee. Maybe it's the coffee.
Get a better fucking brand of coffee, man.
Thank you, Frank. You don't like my music, says this is one of the few channels that hasn't banned me. Oh, do you not get along with other YouTube channels? Did they ban you? That makes you guys cool in my books. All right, well, thank you. Don't like my music.
Thank you.
Think about, you know, maybe giving us a super chat sometime for, you know, keeping you
Throw
around.
some cash.
You know,
more money.
Nothing says thank you like a super chat message. All right, we'll get to some more super chats later on, but let's go to our second segment of the night. This is something we missed last week. This is a bit of an old story, but I can't believe I missed it because it came across my Twitter feed, and I was like, oh, wow. We'd have certainly covered this if we knew about it. For some reason, we just didn't know about it, which is interesting because this took place in New York where Russell lives, and I guess it flew under both of our radar. But last week was the graduation ceremony for CUNY Law School, and Yemeni immigrant Fatima Fusa Muhammad was selected by students to give the commencement speech. Now, Fatima was herself a member of the Students for Justice in Palestine CUNY group, and here is an excerpt from her speech.
In this moment of celebrating who we are, I want to celebrate CUNY Law as one of the few, if not the only law school, to make a public statement defending the right of its students to organize and speak out against Israeli settler colonialism. That this is the law school that passed and endorsed BDS on a student and faculty level. Recognizing that absent a critical imperialism, settler colonialism lens, our work and this school's mission statement is void of value. That as Israel continues to indiscriminately rain bullets and bombs on worshipers, murdering the old, the young, attacking even funerals and graveyards, as it encourages lynch mobs to target Palestinian homes and businesses, as it imprisons its children, as it continues its project of settler colonialism, expelling Palestinians from their homes, carrying the ongoing Nakba, that our silence is no longer acceptable. We are the student body and faculty that fought back when investor-focused admin attempted to cross the BDS picket line, saying loud and clear that Palestine can no longer be the exception to our pursuit of justice, that our morality will not be purchased by investors.
Okay, now I did not choose that portion of the speech to highlight. Rather, Congressman Richie Torres, who represents New York's 15th district, which encompasses much of the Bronx, he decided to highlight that portion of the speech and comment on it in this tweet that I'm going to show you right here. Again, this is a sitting member of Congress, Democrat Richie Torres. Imagine being so crazed by hatred for Israel as a Jewish state that you make it the subject of your commencement speech at a law school graduation. Anti-Israel derangement syndrome at work. And that screenshot under it is the clip that I just showed. What I showed you is exactly what he put under the text of that message. First of all, Richie Torres is, I think, by far the dumbest member of the House. Anti-Israel derangement syndrome at work. Not an original thought in this guy's head. Jose Vega and Kynan did an intervention on him a few months back, where he just exposes his just utter stupidity every time he opens his mouth. Now, if you are a filthy lowlife slut who wants to prostitute yourself for the Israel lobby to the point where, you are supporting an apartheid state for money, that's not something I put past any Democrat or any Republican for that matter. That's just par for the course in the United States government. To single out a student giving a commencement speech and decide to attack her as having anti-Israel derangement syndrome and classify what we just saw as crazed hatred, that is a new low even by your standards, I think. And a lot of these New York Democrats are all the same in that all you have to do is follow the money. This is Richie Torres' Open Secrets profile. You see there $291,000 in the 2022 midterm cycle from pro-Israel individuals and PACs. He is doing this, by the way, he's taking that money in a very safe Democratic district. There's no chance that a Republican is going to overtake him in the Bronx and knock him out of his seat. So these are just open bribes to say shit like this. And that's why he does it. That's why a lot of these Democrats do it. They don't do it out of any conviction. They are whores. They are doing this for the money. I happen to have on very, very good authority, I'm taking a little bit of a chance by saying this, but I know, from a very, very good source that Hakeem Jeffries had some not so nice things to say about the Hasidic Jews in his district after November 8th, 2016, when he found out a lot of them voted for Donald Trump. He had some pretty mean things to say about them behind closed doors. Okay, so for all this posturing about how they love Israel, they love the state of Israel, these are sluts in suits supporting apartheid for money. That's
After
all
I
That's
did
all
to
Richie
get them
Torres
permits for those Purim sheds.
Exactly. That's all it is. That's all it is. And we say this as two JOOs sitting here. You know, this is why we feel a need to comment on this, though. It really is. Because to me, what's anti-Semitic is to make the very, very vulgar assumption that all Jews, like Russell and I, want Richie Torres to attack this girl in this way. This girl said nothing hateful in that speech, nothing whatsoever. The whole speech was 13 minutes. I watched the entire thing to make sure that I wasn't missing something, and I wasn't. But we'll get to it, because Richie Torres wasn't the only guy who thought he should pile on her. She criticized the NYPD in this speech. She called them fascists. It was a radical speech. She was expressing radical political views in that speech. It wasn't a nice mainstream milquetoast Obama, yes we can type corporate woke speech, which we'll get to in a second when I toss to Russ, because we have some great stuff from the CUNY website that we're going to show you in a few minutes. But just taking this one step at a time here, New York Mayor Eric Adams chimed in on the speech. I was proud to offer a different message at this year's CUNY law commencement ceremony.
You fucking scumbag.
One that celebrates.
Did you talk again about how rent control hurts black landlords?
Yeah, right, exactly. Right. Well, that's the kind of wokeness they would welcome. Right?
Yeah, they would celebrate that.
They would celebrate that. I was proud to offer a different message, one that celebrates the progress of our city and country, and one that honors those who fight to keep us safe and protect our freedom, like my Uncle Joe, who died at 19 in Vietnam while giving his life for our country. Yeah, your Uncle Joe didn't die protecting freedom in Vietnam. No one who died in Vietnam died protecting freedom. That's complete bullshit. And anyone with two brain cells to rub together knows that. I'm sorry. So I'm sorry for your uncle. It's a shame that he died in vain. It's a shame that he was murdered by our state in a war that we never should have involved ourselves in. But that's the red pill there. Your Uncle Joe didn't die fighting for freedom. We cannot allow words of negativity
died
and
in the hope that one day his nephew would pimp his name out.
Exactly.
To burnish his political reputation.
One day, it won't be in vain. One day, my nephew will pimp my name out to attack a Yemeni immigrant for giving a commencement speech, for which she receives no money, by the way. She's not getting Rachel Maddow money to do this speech, by the way. We cannot allow words of negativity and divisiveness to be the only ones our students hear. Now, I will remind you, the students elected this woman to give this speech. The law school voted on who was going to speak, and they chose this woman. And as you can tell in the excerpt that we showed, the speech went over very, very well. Now, not only did Torres chime in, Eric Adams chimed in, some other politicians chimed in, CUNY itself issued a statement condemning the speech. Statement from the Board of Trustees and Chancellor of the City University of New York. Free speech is precious, but often messy, and is vital to the foundation of higher education. Hate speech, however, should not be confused with free speech and has no place on our campus or in our city, our state, or our nation. That alone is a dubious thing to write. With regard to like hate speech is not free speech. Well, no. There are no actual hate speech like laws on the book. Hate speech is a construct of big tech and academia.
I gotta say, I'm gonna give you an old man moment here. So when I was in college, that's when this shit first bubbled up, but it was so crazy an idea, nobody took them seriously. But you used to have, they didn't have the term, we call it political correctness then, they didn't say woke. But I will never forget these white girls who used to come out on a dais on the campus and with signs saying no free speech for fascists. And this is a very common point of view now, but it was way out there back then. And even then I harassed them. It's almost like I was destined to do what I do now. I would yell at them, "Mommy, Daddy, can I have a credit card for the revolution?" It's like totally go after these idiots. It's amazing to have seen this idea go so mainstream that the administration at CUNY is basically making that argument. Hate speech is not free speech. That was the same thing. They were essentially saying 30 years ago. No free speech for fascists. What does that mean? What does that mean? I used to actually, when I wasn't harassing them, I would debate them. Like, don't you realize there's no way to get a law like that on the books that doesn't threaten your freedom of speech?
No,
even if we agree we want to stop fascists from speaking, there is no way to construct a law that limits speech in that way that does not endanger your own speech.
No, that's why it has not happened. They go on. The remarks by a student-selected speaker at the CUNY Law School graduation unfortunately fall into the category of hate speech, as they were a public expression of hate towards people in communities based on their religion, race, or political affiliation. Nonsense. First of all, what is political affiliation doing there? I thought I thought we're allowed to hate like Nazis, for example.
Right.
Like
yeah.
if you support, like if you're a Nazi, aren't you supposed to, as a student of a woke law school, come out there and say, nasty things about people for their political affiliation? Obviously, you shouldn't slur anyone or make any racially charged insults. She did none of those things in the
Unless
entire
they're
13-minute speech.
Unless they're white. If they're white.
Well, she didn't do anything. She did nothing.
Yeah.
She said nothing. Nothing. She didn't slur anyone. She didn't make any racially charged comments in that way, or any, expression of hatred towards Jews, or even she didn't call for the destruction of Israel. Nothing. Boycott, divest, and sanction, by the way, is perfectly legitimate and nonviolent. There's nothing racist or hateful or bigoted about it. People have the right to boycott a state or a corporation if they want to. They have the right to pull investment out of them. And if they think that a state is behaving in a way that it should be sanctioned, they have a right to advocate that too. There's nothing.
That's terrorism. Boycotting is terrorism.
Yeah, right.
You didn't hear?
Violence, right.
You didn't hear that?
There's just nothing out of bounds about that. It's just ludicrous. The Board of Trustees of the City University of New York condemns such hate speech. This speech is particularly unacceptable at a ceremony celebrating the achievements of a wide diversity of graduates. The graduates voted to have this woman speak. The kids wanted her there. The kids loved the speech. They were clapping through the whole fucking thing. I watched the whole thing. You can watch it if you go on Twitter and you just search in Fatima full speech. You'll see. It's only 13 minutes. It's not long. Which was founded on the principle of equal access and opportunity. Yeah, equal access and opportunity, as in Israel should stop killing Palestinians in broad daylight. Right? I mean, that equal access and opportunity.
It's hard to take advantage of your opportunities when you're dead.
Exactly. CUNY's commitment to protecting and supporting our students has not wavered throughout our 175-year existence, and we cannot and will not condone hateful rhetoric on our campus. Fuck off. The students loved the speech. Amazing. You're clearly doing this because you probably have board of trustees. A lot of money coming in from a lot of people who don't like this kind of talk. That's who you're protecting by issuing this bullshit fucking coward ass statement.
And that's
the
whose
students
ass
love
you're
the
kissing.
speech. They love the speech. Obviously, they love the speech.
Yeah, I mean, this is okay. So CUNY around the turn of the 20th century, like City College, it was known as the poor man's Harvard. Colin Powell went there. Sonia Sotomayor went there. But as you would expect in a city that had the world's largest Jewish population until the founding of Israel and now has the world's second largest, CUNY used to be a primarily Jewish student body. So they're getting a lot of money from alumni, I would imagine, who are Jewish. A lot of back then you had working class striving Jews all going to the CUNY system, like Bernie actually was part of that. He went to Brooklyn College before he went out to Northwestern. Back then CUNY was free, so it was this real ladder up for the working class. And yeah, I'm sure they have a lot of donors who are, Jewish alumni or children of Jewish alumni. And a lot of those, especially those older generation Jews, they are uncompromising Zionists. They are coming out of
I had
the whole,
several in my family. Yeah, growing up, I'm sure you have too.
Sure. Yeah. No. I mean, we talked about it the other day on the show. I mean, there was this period after World War II, pretty much up through the 80s, where criticizing Israel was really verboten. Like, you think it's verboten now? Phew. You have no idea. Like, you literally could not criticize Israel about anything without being accused of being an anti-Semite. So, you know, that's a lot of their donors. Now, if we want to get into the law school itself, her speech is really interesting, looking at what's fermenting at a place like CUNY.
Yeah, but let me play the last part of her speech before we get this, because that'll put the contrast in great light. Okay, so this first part that I showed here was the part that Richie Torres sought to highlight. Now, I had a feeling that there was nothing really bad about this speech, because I figured Richie Torres would pluck for his tweet the most damning part in his eyes. So, like, if she said something really just extreme, he would have highlighted that. So I had a feeling there was really much ado about nothing with regards to the outrage over this speech. But like I said, I just wanted to do my homework and watch the whole thing. And so here is a portion toward the end that kind of sums up what the themes of the speech were very well. And you can see both what she says and the reaction here. This is about 2 minutes.
I am here to remind us all that our existence on its own today in this room is revolutionary. That as we embark on our legal careers, we must practice a discipline of truth and courage and hold ourselves true to the mission statement we came to this school for. So today I celebrate the courage and bravery that got us here, and I celebrate every moment of resilience that sets us apart as the #1 leading public interest school in this nation. I see before my eyes brilliant future public defenders. I see brilliant immigration attorneys, housing attorneys, business attorneys, civil rights attorneys, and movement lawyers. I see professors and librarians. I see before me future practitioners who will work on contracts to end partnerships with ICE, and not intellectual property contracts to secure designs for the newest drone technology.
Whoa, hate speech.
Yeah.
Intellectual property. No, we have to respect intellectual property. This is New York City, baby. This is Money City. What are you talking about? See, I didn't catch that the first time around. Maybe I had her all wrong.
Murdering children. I see future lawyers who will intellectual property contracts to secure designs for the newest drone technology murdering children. I see future lawyers who will defend tenants in court and not those that dispossess our communities from their homes. I see future attorneys who will protect the communities terrorized by the surveillance state and not protect the agents of oppression that carry out that terror. Future lawyers who will fight to keep families together and not tear them apart. I see future lawyers who will work to make this world a better place, one person, one movement at a time. I see a class to be rejoiced, a class to be celebrated, a class to be remembered today and in the years ahead. And as we celebrate who we are today, let us actively fight against the collective amnesia and cognitive dissonance that limits our understanding of the world to what is only directly before our eyes.
Oh, somebody protect those students from what she's saying. They're clearly so traumatized.
Horrible.
What a horrible speech. Oh, my God.
In fact,
God.
I'm almost as traumatized as I am by the water bug the size of my hand that ran by while we've been doing the show.
Oh, really? You got water bugs in there?
It's like the size of a Buick.
Yeah, it's a New York thing.
Yes, it is.
At
At least we don't have those palmetto bugs like they do down south.
Yeah. So anyway, all right. So we saw that. So what this really was, right, in a word, was woke. This was an actual woke speech. This is what actual woke
good
is.
woke.
This is what it means.
This is the good woke.
To be woke. Anti-surveillance, anti-capitalist, anti-police, anti-oppression, anti-landlord, right? I mean, this is what you're supposed to learn at CUNY, is it not? Let's check the website. Russell's got the website up. Let's take a little tour of what CUNY advertises on their website. Yeah. And let's see how compatible that speech is with what they say their mission statement is as a school.
Okay, so as soon as you hit the landing page, they want you to know that they are #1 in diversity. They're very, very proud of it. As the #1 public interest law school in the nation, our mission is twofold: We learn, teach, and practice law in the service of human needs, and we transform the law so that it includes those it would otherwise exclude, marginalize, and oppress. Well, it seems like if that's the kind of student you want to cultivate, and that's the kind of lawyer you want to create, it seems like that speech would fill you with joy. Mission accomplished. Look at what you created, right? Look at the lawyer that you have now who wants to go out and fight for Palestinian rights and wants to fight against landlords and the police. I thought that's what you wanted, right? Oh, no. You just wanted that kind of performative DEI kind of activism that doesn't actually do anything. In keeping with that, at CUNY Law, every member of our community is united in mission. Our student body, our faculty, our alumni, and the network of partners, organizations, and movements to which we are connected bring a multiplicity of experience and expertise that make us an exceptional force for change. All right, here's where it gets interesting. Part of what makes us exceptional is that we know great lawyers aren't made from test scores, rankings, or any of the indicators used to grant advantages to communities free from systemic racism and oppression. Great lawyers are made of stronger stuff. Our admissions process values the array of experiences and perspectives you might bring to our community, as well as your commitment to social justice and passion for using the law as a tool for social good. Well, Keaton, I'm very confused.
I would think Fatima Muhammad is a perfect example of what they're talking about there.
It sounds
This is a
like
person who comes from a very, very challenged community, Yemeni immigrants, comes to the law school, excels at the law school, becomes popular enough that she is elected by the students, by her peers, to speak at the graduation ceremony. She gives a very uplifting speech, a very radical speech, but an uplifting one, a very positive one. The crowd loves it. How does her story, how is she not on the billboard for CUNY if that's their mission statement?
Right. She should be on that cute landing page.
She should be on the landing page. Exactly. That's exactly what they're talking about. But what they're talking about, of course, are the kinds of students that flow from, as Russell was saying off the air, the Ibram X. Kendi model of voices, right? That's why they get the big bucks. That's what they want.
That's what they want. They want the Robin DiAngelo. They want the Ibram X. Kendi. They want the performative social justice that doesn't go anywhere, that doesn't accomplish anything, where everyone sits in a room screaming about whiteness and white privilege and systemic oppression and don't actually sue a landlord or challenge the military-industrial complex or start talking about Israel, who many of the donors of the college are very much supportive of, killing Palestinians. They, as long as they stay inside the lines, which is essentially, this is why Kendi, this is why Robin DiAngelo, this is why they're fucking rich. Because they're able to sell the idea that you can work towards social justice without actually doing anything. It's very much a religion, right? You right down to original sin, right? We have systemic oppression, we have racism. Here's the man's fall from grace, right? You have driven from the garden, right? It's inherent, it's original. There is no salvation, there is no cure for it. All you can do is pay exorbitant amounts of money to people like Ibram X. Kendi and Robin DiAngelo and pay them and their employees to yell at you. And, that's your going to church, right? You go and nothing changes. Not one landlord loses a dime. Not one corporation loses a penny. And that's why those voices are elevated. And voices like this are immediately attacked by the academic class, by the political class, by the media. They all come after her because that's the real shit. That's the real manifestation of what they're talking about in that landing page. And they don't want any part of it.
Right. Right. Exactly. Exactly. They think their role, as academics, as sort of entrance into the upper classes, which is why a lot of people go to college, right? That's the main motivator, right? You don't go there to become more virtuous or more enlightened. You go there because it's a way to get a leg up. They feel an obligation to bear witness to the misery of the American experience. They don't feel a need to do anything about it.
Right.
Bearing witness to it is their activism. It's their church, right? As Russell just said. You go there and you communicate empathy for all of the people who are victimized by injustice, right? And you communicate your guilt, right? Oh, isn't it a shame that it's this way? Meanwhile, thank you very much. I'll take this college degree and I'll trade it in for $300,000 a year at a law firm somewhere. But I'm aware of how unfair all of this is. You have a girl at the commencement speech saying, no, we actually have a responsibility to sort of revive the old tradition of like radical lawyers. Like this was something from the 60s and 70s, right? Where we're actually going to use the legal system to actually try and pick apart this, corrupted system from the inside. And they're like, well, I don't know. Come on, that's hate speech. That's violence.
Yeah, I mean, this is really a throwback to you used to have this. We lost this so long ago, we've forgotten about it. But the radical lawyer was a cliche of the 60s and the 70s, right? The lawyer with the long hair walking in to pro bono defend kids arrested on pot charges, right? So this, on that level, I found it very interesting, particularly because CUNY was always a hotbed of these radical lawyers and political science professors. To see that tradition kind of being revived in this new generation. But it's interesting because unlike in the 60s, you have this language of the academy encouraging this seemingly, but then not liking the implications of what they actually got. They wanted the very packaged in the box performative version of this. They didn't actually think about what they would do if they got this, right? What's that going to do with the trustees? What's that going to do with the donors if you have this law school that's cultivating political radicals who are actually going to use the law to go after the system? Who don't have Rachel Maddow politics, who have actual radical politics.
Right. Exactly. All right, let's take some super chats. Then we got one more segment that we're going to do. Cool Blue, thanks for the $1.99. Mad Cow, only the people on my level are worthy. Yep, that's what she exudes there for sure.
Coming to a Substack near you.
Coming to a Substack newsletter near you. And the laugh, they got a good laugh in that room. Courtney, thank you for the $10. Just entertainment to the people with interruptions, but they are not accomplishing anything but increasing their own fame until they do something of value that changes something. It's worthless. I'm assuming you're talking about the people who shout down these elites and on the panel of the TrueCon and the Maddow. I think there's great value in doing that. I think there's great value in calling these people out to their face for everyone to see. That Blumenthal video got about 1 million views very, very quickly. I mean, it went all over the place because I feel like one of the biggest obstacles, like one of the reasons why politics is as stagnant as it is right now, one of the reasons why there is no oxygen for, outside party movements or even, ideas that buck the sort of orthodoxies of either the Democrats or the GOP, which are pretty close together in the grand scheme of things, is because a lot of people feel, and this really, this has been the case in America for a very long time, but this really multiplied tenfold with Obama. And this is what Norm Finkelstein writes. The project of change was electing Obama. Obama himself was the movement, was the goal, was everything. And that really made this sort of superficial, sort of corporate wokeness a left position to a lot of people. And it takes that kind of action to snap people out of it. Like the absurdity. Why should these people get away with what? Because they have a diverse board, right? Why should they get away with perpetrating this fraud on people, that they represent the vanguard of social progress, when the people on the receiving end of Lockheed Martin's product line are almost all black and brown people from poor countries around the world? Why shouldn't they be called out on that mercilessly as often as possible to as big an audience as possible?
Yeah, Courtney, I think it is very important, and anyone who's ever lived under totalitarianism will tell you this. Once you can point out the absurdity of the authorities, once you can make people laugh at them, they're done. And that's why they so strictly suppress humor in societies that depend upon absolute obedience. Like, I'm going to piss off our China stands again. Like that story we covered a couple of weeks where a comedian made a very innocuous joke in China about his dogs being determined like the military, right? I mean, that's actually a pro-military thing. Totalitarian societies cannot be laughed at. They cannot be laughed at. It's the reason the woke people are so anti-humor, because once you start laughing at them, they're done. They're done. That actually relates to our next segment, right? That's why they were so freaked out by that movie, because it was a funny exposure of their beliefs. So yeah.
What was I going to say in response to that? I had something, but it flew out of my head. But that's all right. I'll get it back.
No, I mean, we need, because we never had what we have now, where you could just go and do that and throw it out on a platform where millions of people could see it. Right. I mean, that is part of an overall mix of building outside power. You have got to show more and more people how ridiculous these people are. You've got to offer counter narratives. I mean, isn't that what we're doing here?
Yeah, and that's what I see as being important now. And I think one of the things that's important to recognize now, and this is why, I've talked about this, I don't want to get into this for the 10th time in 10 weeks, but when you talk about a feeling of despair and hopelessness as sort of being demobilizing, I think you have to look at where we are now as a phase of sort of educating people, as a phase of sort of laying the groundwork for whatever movement can rise up in the ashes of a failed American system, because the system is obviously coming apart at the seams. It's unraveling too quickly to save it. And honestly, I don't think it's particularly worth saving. I'm not sure I would save it if I could at this point, right? Because it's just too far gone. So we're in a phase right now where I think it's really important to, get these ideas out there to people. That's why I think what RBN does is so important. It's very important to have a black Marxist channel on the airwaves, right? Getting that message out to as many people who need to hear it. That's what we try to do here, as much as, we'll do political analysis because you have to pay
as
attention
black
to
Marxists
developments, right? As black Jewish Marxists, right? Exactly. No, I mean, I think that's part of it, right? Part of it is we are in the early phases of what's coming next now. The idea that we're in a mad scramble to save the country, that was 2020. That was 2016, right? That's over. That's past. So now I think it's important and actually relevant and actually very, very meaningful.
That was the Hail Mary pass.
Right. That was the Hail Mary pass.
It didn't land.
Didn't land in the end zone. Got batted out of bounds. And so that's it. So now we're doing this. And so, I think it's important not to get too obsessed with, okay, are you producing short-term results right now? In that sense, like I said, there are a lot of movements that do produce short-term results and short-term wins for people. We're very supportive of that. Like what, Shama Sawant is doing now, what she was able to do in Seattle. It's very important to rack up wins along the way. But it's also important, I think, to, shine a light on these just very sort of fundamental contradictions that for the longest time have been hidden in plain sight. How Barack Obama was able to get away with convincing people that he represented this vanguard of like social progress. That's just nonsense. And to most people in this chat, obviously, are hip to that now, but millions of people are not.
Right.
And so it's important to do that.
When you come to a day where Barack Obama says, "Don't boo, vote,"
right,
and everyone laughs at him, like that's the most ridiculous.
Right. That's
thing.
when you know we've done our job.
That's it. That's our job.
Exactly. Virtuoso. If I ever hit the lottery, I would dark money, rat fuck Torres and his ilk out of their congressional seats. Yeah, you should run against them.
Well, you know what Dorothy Parker said. If you want to see what God thinks about money, look who he gives it to.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Pardon me. Dan in the Outback. Thanks for the $7.99. Super chats are rolling in now. Folks, super chats are very, very helpful. We're at 607 people in here. Let's hit that like button. Let's get some more people in here. And please hit that subscribe button if you are not yet subscribed. We're closing in on 10,000 subscribers. We are only 248 shy, 9752. Can we get a subscription blitz now? It's free to subscribe. You can join at patreon.com, DueDissidence.substack.com to support the show, or you can hit that join button. We had Charlie sign up and become a YouTube member earlier this evening. If you hit that join button, like I said, you become a monthly donor through YouTube. That helps very, very much as well. Thank you all for being here. Dan in the Outback, thanks for the $7.99. For all that we hear about heroic Ukraine, the U.S. state then ignores the plight of the Palestinians, Syrians, and Yemeni people fighting U.S. aggression. Yeah, there was a great meme that surfaced in the early days of the Russian invasion where you saw a Ukraine flag and a Palestinian flag side by side. And I forget what the text was, but it pointed to that very thing. Yeah.
Right.
Thank you for the donation. Darren, thanks for the $5.99.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You can read this one, Russell.
Rachel Maddow once described Roger Ailes as a friend and mentor. The first version of her you saw on air was actually the charlatan. Maybe. It seems, I mean, for a lot of people,
she's. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
For a lot of people on the left, their leftism is performative, or they think they're on the left, but they're not really on the left. That was actually, Keaton said we should do Succession, but he hasn't watched it. I didn't feel like talking about it by myself. But that was,
I was really just trying to get you to do a segment for me so I could just chill. Yeah. I was really just trying to work less, is what I was here.
The daughter, Shiv, that was an interesting observation. Like she was like a neolib. Like she got, these rich people like to feel useful. So, like they're not just idly living their lives. So they'll go get these fucking jobs to not be consumed by existential despair. So she's a political advisor, spokesperson when the series starts for a guy who's supposed to be like a Bernie Sanders type. Like That's where she starts. But this is part of what was so brilliant about the writing. You never get the sense that she has any convictions. You get the sense that this was more like to try to get daddy's attention than anything else. Right. But like throughout the series, superficially, she'll kind of nod to the idea that she's not like the others. She's not a Republican. She's a Democrat. But she's just the most horrible, rapacious, typical 1%er you'd ever meet. But she's a Democrat. Right.
I mean, I wouldn't know for that show what you're talking about, but to the question, the first was the charlatan. I think she is still a fake, really. I mean, I don't think she really means what she's saying now either. Like I said,
I don't think she means anything. She's so fundamentally dishonest, and she's too smart for it to be an accident.
Right? Did you ever be duped by that?
One of the things I always remember with her, this was after the 2016 election. She was one of the first out front on the Jill Stein thing. And I don't know who it was. It was some African-American broadcasters. I don't know who they were, but she pulls out a picture of Jill Stein at that dinner in Russia that they framed really dishonestly. And they all go, oh, and she's laughing with them like, oh,
with Putin at the table.
Yeah, look at the proof. She brought the receipts. And look, man, Rachel, and she's grinning ear to ear. come on, man. You know what you're doing. You know what you're doing. I mean, some people are so fucking stupid. You have to wonder if they, but no, she knows. So, I mean, God, how empty inside do you have to be to fucking make your living this way?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Sandy, great segment. Thank you. Thank you. We would have done that.
We'll just assume
time.
you meant all of them.
No, I'm sure based on the time code of that, she probably meant the Yemeni students' speech, which we would have done on Thursday if we had known about it. If for some reason that just flew under both of our radars, which is kind of bizarre because you'd think that's a story right up our alley that we would see, but we missed it the first time around. All right, take one more for now, and then we'll save the rest for a little bit later here. Well, actually, hold on.
I'm honestly a little surprised that on the conservative feeds I look at, nobody covered that CUNY speech from the other side. Woke speech about cops and Israel. I'm sorry, I haven't even seen it on that end. Even the black conservative has not covered that.
Didn't touch it.
I mean, not that I've seen, no. And he covers everything, man. For freaking, if a woke person farts in a Target, he's got a video about it 10 minutes later.
Exactly. Yeah, he's got it. Well, you know what, man? I mean, and I could be wrong about this. I know Ted Cruz tweeted out something about it. You know, you had some Republicans chime in on it. And you had, from what I was researching, you had a lot of outlets run with the same thing. Obviously, the New York Post put her on the front page. That's a right-wing rag.
Sure.
But in terms of like indie media commentators, I don't know. Maybe I'm giving them too much credit. Maybe I'm giving them too much credit, but I feel like in my experience absorbing this media space, the thing that makes most of the woke people such fodder for like right-wing trolling is not necessarily what they say, but the performative nature of what they say. Like they tend to target people who they can expose as being hypocritical or insincere.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas say what you want about the text of that speech and what she said, you can't frame her as being a hypocrite or being a poser or being on a grift. So to me, that I don't know, maybe I'm wrong about that. But to me, if I were a commentator who's looking to like expose people, one of the things you look for is insincerity. Whereas like a person like that, like you can't expose her for anything. That's who she is. I mean, she's speaking a truth that is as authentic as it can be. I mean, she's from Yemen.
Well, post-Trump, any kind of pro-war shit is not as reliable red meat for their base. But the cop thing is. Like, that's something they usually that's a sandbox they usually like to climb into. I'm surprised they haven't gotten into this speech. I'm surprised I didn't see it there.
Maybe we will. Ruthless criticism. Thanks for the $10. Pick apart the system from the inside. Worked out really well, eh? The system exists in such a way that it can't be picked apart from the inside. Revolution is all there is. At this point, I think you're probably right, which is why I'm not a lawyer. But these kids are going to law school, and it seems to me that what she said was in the old tradition of radical lawyers.
Radical lawyer. She needs to get together with Johnny Depp, drop some acid, and drive cross country.
Yeah, right, exactly.
that would be a race and gender swapped remake I could get behind.
Yeah,
two Muslim women in a remake of Fear and Loathing.
Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Yeah. Indeed. All right, shall we do this last segment?
Let's do it.
All right, we're going to get to some more super chats later, but it is getting a little late for a Sunday, so we want to make sure we do all this. But thank you for everyone who has donated. You help keep the show afloat. We did get a new Patreon member sign up during this stream, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Did we get a YouTube member before we even went on?
Yeah, we featured that. Charlie signed up before we went on. Indeed. So thank you, Charlie, and thank you to our newest YouTube member, to our newest patron, Demetria B. I'll just say that. I won't say your last name, but thank you very much. All right, so let's go into this last segment here. The controversial documentary, What is a Woman? Streamed for free on Twitter Friday, June 2nd. But much like the Ron DeSantis Twitter campaign launch, this didn't exactly go off without a hitch either. So on Thursday, Daily Wire co-founder and co-CEO Jeremy Boring announced that Twitter was reneging on the deal they had made and would actually limit the reach of the film. So he explains more of this in a sort of Twitter Files style thread, which we will go through right now. It's not that long, so this won't be long here. Twitter canceled a deal. So this was June 1st. Twitter canceled a deal with the Daily Wire to premiere What is a Woman for free on the platform because of 2 instances of misgendering, which I don't know, Russell. What do you think? Should we give misgendering? Should we call that matzo braing just to cover our ass here? Is that smart? Is that prudent? Or do we not have to? Do we need code words for that?
I'll tell you, man. Nobody will say the I don't know, the Bob Dylan name anymore.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. All right. So
when you watch the conservatives, they talk around that name.
Yeah. What would they name? What would be a good code name for her? Anyway, I can't brainstorm that now. 1 year ago today, we released What is a Woman? To celebrate the occasion and to expand the movie's already enormous impact, we decided to give it away for free.
Call her Marilyn.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. For free for 24 hours on
I
Twitter.
can't remember who said it. Somebody said Marilyn Monroe was a woman in drag.
Oh, okay. So there, you could do that. I guess you could maybe that would work. 1 year ago today, we released What is a Woman? To celebrate the occasion and expand the movie's already enormous impact, we decided to give it away for free for 24 hours on Twitter. With Twitter's recent commitments to free speech, I mean, okay, we thought it would be the perfect place to distribute the film and drive the conversation forward on one of the most important topics of our day. All right, now, look. There is a certain delusion a lot of people are under. If I had to grade Elon on free speech, I'd probably give him at this point C-. Like, I wouldn't give him an F. Like, there are certain things there are certain conversations I definitely feel more comfortable having on Twitter than I would before he got here, or that I would have on another platform on Facebook. Like, okay, I'll give you that. But he, like every billionaire tech bro douchebag before him, is just wildly impulsive, wildly inconsistent, and wildly irregular and arbitrary in their enforcement of their rules, which change from time to time. So, like, I'm sorry, you shouldn't really feel like you're in great hands from a free speech point of view with this guy. Better than the old regime? Look what
he did to Matt.
Flying colors. Yeah.
Look what he did to Matt.
No, Taibbi. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he just fucked him out of nowhere.
Right.
Just out of left field, just completely fucked this guy who did more than anybody else to promote the Twitter files and to put them together and decipher what they meant, to put them out before the public, which clearly was something Elon cared about. It was something that he wanted. So
not only is he fucking Matt Taibbi, he's really he continues to this day to be fucking Substack really hard. We can't share our Substack links here. They appear as links, which nobody clicks a link. You need the thumbnail. You need the image to generate. You need it to look good. He throttled that. Because they copied his format for their notes feature? I mean, so fucking what, man? And Substack is a real deal free speech outlet. Not whatever Elon happens to feel today free speech outlet. Like, they're actually committed to free speech, and you throttle their fucking links. And
Elon is free speech with PMS.
Yeah, maybe I was too generous. Maybe I should give him a D. I feel like C- is fair because
I feel like C- is fair because, look, at the end of the day, his life would be so much easier if he could just be an establishment acceptable douchebag like Bezos. They never bother Bezos.
Right, exactly.
Right? Yeah. Fucking Bezos could import 13-year-old Thai children to work in his warehouses. They wouldn't bother him.
Right, exactly. Right, doesn't matter. If you play ball,
it doesn't matter. As long as you play ball, as long as you don't fuck around with them.
But he's certainly not doing a good enough job where this guy should have felt like, no, this will go off.
Oh, no, no
problem.
We're totally secure.
We're totally secure, right? We thought it would be the perfect place to distribute the film. Rumble, you could distribute the film. That they're committed, right? Twitter responded with the enthusiasm and off. Okay, so sorry, I just thought of something that's actually very revealing. I was just about to say that. Okay, so why are these guys acting as though Twitter is the real deal platform for free speech and not Rumble, when Rumble actually is. Like, if you want to do a free premiere, you would put this on Rumble and know you're totally safe, and you'd be throwing Rumble a major bone. But therein lies the rub, doesn't it? Because they know the people aren't on Rumble. So they're not actually willing to take a stand for free speech and actually bring this, very popular movie. It was a very successful film. We could put this on Rumble for free and bring everybody over there, but they're not willing to do that. They want to be where the people are. And so they go with this half-assed, crazy fucking bullshit version of what they consider a free speech platform, which, like I said, depends on what Elon Musk had for breakfast that morning. That's how much free speech they get.
I mean, this is really a subscription drive to get people on their platform.
Right.
But frankly, if you're the Daily Wire, you can do what Glenn Greenwald can do. You can do what Russell Brand has done. You have your built-in audience. Like, it's probably worth it for them to go over to Rumble. Help build up a free speech platform.
Help
you never know. Look, they already fucked you. They already fucked Matt Walsh, probably your biggest moneymaker, I would imagine. Who else they got? They got Brett Cooper. I mean, there's no way she does Matt Walsh numbers.
No.
So they already fucked you out of your revenue there. I mean, what do you got to lose? Go over to Rumble. Yeah, you're right. But I think they were just looking at it in terms of, okay, how many conversions to subs are we going to get on Rumble versus
Twitter? They're using the audio.
That's it.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. All right. Let me go back to this here. Sorry about that. Here we go. Okay. We'll keep going. All right. So Twitter responded with enthusiasm and offered us the opportunity to buy a package to host the movie on a dedicated event page and to promote the event to every Twitter user over the first 10 hours. Every Twitter user. Wow. That's crazy. We accepted and signed an agreement. After we signed, Twitter asked to see the film to better understand what parts may trigger users so they could better prepare their response. They said they were still all hands on deck for launch, so we sent them a screener. Talk about, again, just incompetent impulsiveness.
Well, and how ignorant could you be to not know what this movie was? I mean, you could just go online and Google it.
Oh, why would
you would have found out the whole controversy immediately.
Yeah, well, I don't understand why you would agree to screen it without watching it first.
Hello, we have a film. It is called Triumph of the Will. It is very inspirational.
It's good. Yeah.
That sounds great. Can we have a screener?
It will really trigger the libs. Yeah.
We are going to own them.
We are going to own them all.
We are going to transport them, you might say.
They said they were still all hands on deck for launch, so we sent them a screener. After reviewing the film, though, Twitter let us know that not only could we no longer purchase the package they offered, they would no longer provide us any support and would actually limit the reach of the film and label it as hateful conduct because of matzah braing. Specifically, in the film, a father refers to his 14-year-old daughter as a her. All right. And a store owner uses the wrong pronoun in a confrontation with a trans person. Okay. So then they reminded Twitter that they removed misgendering from their policy and that the term matzah braing is itself misleading and that enforcing such a policy places them on the side of the most radical elements in society, the side most opposed to their commitment for free speech. Now, the interesting thing about this is that, one of the things I've noticed early on in driving for Uber, noticing that a lot of these tech companies function more or less the same, whatever their product is that they outsource a lot of their enforcement of rules, or in this case, TOS, to bots, to AI. And so it just shows that in this case, it seems like some of the people at Twitter were trying to mimic the processing systems of those AI bots by finding out, here's two specific instances that violate the policy. You would think if you're putting this call in human hands, right? In other words, we're going to have a panel of people watch the film and say, okay, yes, we're going to run it, or no, we're not. You'd think they wouldn't say, okay, well, we found two instances that technically violate a policy. It's just a very clinical, way of going about it. You would think you watch it on a whole and you say, okay, go or no go. Instead, they say, no, there are these two scenes in here that we have a problem with. So that's just an odd way to go about it. It's almost like
it's
now
very
the people
much
are starting to mimic the AI. So they train the AI to mimic humans. And now, because the AI have sort of set the standard in the industry, now the humans are trying to mimic the AI. They're taking their cues from the robots.
I mean, you could also say that there's a certain precedent for this in law, because you want to find some factual basis for your decisions that, is not just arbitrary. But what I really see here is what we were discussing earlier, and we'll see that in the way this all concluded. It's very hard to get people who have the technical competence to work at Twitter who are not subscribers to woke ideology. I think that's what happened here. He had people working in that department who wanted to find a TOS-based reason to throttle this movie, and they found it. Even though, according to Elon, he got rid of the Matsubrae basis for throttling, and that's no longer a violation of Twitter terms of service. They may not have known that. As I said, I don't think it's an accident that just when Elon signaled that he needs to make some money and he's going to play nice with the advertisers by hiring the CEO from the very woke CEO out of NBC, that I feel like they were testing the boundaries. I feel like they wanted to throttle this, and they were hoping he wouldn't interfere because he's trying to get the advertisers back. I think ideologically they probably hated this movie.
That's probably true. Although, given the high profile nature of this deal and all those involved in it, that was a pretty idiotic plan, right? I mean, they were going to have to go through with it, right? All right. So Twitter says they only removed Matsubraeing from their policy because they didn't need to be that specific, but that they still consider it abuse and harassment. They gave us the opportunity to edit the film to comply. We declined, of course, right? Okay, so when we asked how much they would limit the visibility if we posted the film anyway, Twitter replied that our own followers would not be able to see it in their feeds. This, they said, is part of their speech, not reach policy. This was something that came up in the Twitter files, the speech, not reach thing. And, so that was something that you hoped would have changed. I guess not. Of course, saying you have the right to speak, but we'll make sure no one hears you is a bit like saying you have the right to cast a vote, but we'll make sure it isn't. Twitter is, YouTube is actually reversing its policy on this kind of stuff on Friday. So in 5 days, we would feel safe about reading that sentence. But
in 5 days, you're going to find out what we really think about the schmelection.
Right, exactly. We'll be able to say it on Friday. Right, exactly.
God damn it! How'd they find those votes in a pickle barrel? You tell me that.
You tell me. Yeah. What kind of shit is that? Oh yeah, we're changing the rule on Friday.
Yeah. Who you think owns Vlasic? JOOSs.
We brought all our shows to Twitter Tuesday because we believe Twitter was committed to free speech, especially on this issue. After all, the Babylon Bee was silenced on Twitter over this very issue, and that in part prompted Elon to purchase the platform. Almost done. The other tech platforms have already decided where they stand in the trans debate and demonetize and deprioritize all who disagree. Now Twitter has joined the ranks of the other tech superpowers in ensuring one side of the debate is suppressed. Now this, like I said, this was Thursday. This is when he was still trying to convince Elon to undo the sort of shadow ban, right? Elon is not beholden to conservatives. He has the right to run his business as he sees fit. But if Twitter is going to throttle one side of the most important debates facing society, it cannot claim to champion free speech. I hope Elon will reconsider this awful policy. If we can't debate these issues on Twitter, where can we debate them? If conservatives aren't welcome on Twitter, where are they welcome? It's unlikely another centibillionaire will come along to offer an alternative. We plan to host the movie anyway tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern. Will Twitter make good on their threat to throttle it and label it hateful content? Or will Twitter live up to its great promise? We'll all find out together. So that was very smart of him. You know, we could use a little bit of that Machiavellian instinct, that sort of prowess on the left here, because he said, okay, well, we're going to go through with it anyway. Like, we're not going to change our plans over this. Like, yeah, we'll air it anyway at 8 p.m. If they don't unban it, then they don't unban it. But we are going to go ahead and do it. And I think that's a big reason why Elon eventually did come out and say that it was a mistake, that a mistake was made, and that they should not have actually throttled it. I'm trying to find the tweet where Elon calls it a mistake. I know it's in this thread. It was up here a minute ago. But Elon eventually did come out and say that actually this was a mistake made by people at Twitter. So I'm going to find that tweet. But Russell, do you have anything to add in the meantime?
Yeah, so he wound up coming out and saying that it is no longer, unequivocally, it is no longer Twitter policy to consider matzah braing a violation of terms of service. And he clarified, he said, to make it clear, I myself will use people's preferred pronouns, but I don't feel that there should be retaliation against people who don't. That's their decision. It's rude at worst, but it's not a violation of law. And basically he was trying to say that that's the standard Twitter goes by, which it does not. You know, he's the queen of hearts. If he wakes up in a bad mood, if you piss him off, he might kick you off Twitter. Right. But he basically framed it that unless it's against the law, it's allowed on Twitter.
All right. So here's what he said. I found it. By the way, this is one other thing Elon has not fixed. Why was that tweet available 10 minutes ago on that scroll, and then it wasn't there anymore? Anyway, he responds after that 16 tweet thread. This was a mistake by many people at Twitter. It is definitely allowed, whether or not you agree with using someone's pronouns. Not doing so is at most rude and certainly breaks no laws. And then he said what Russell says. I should note that I do personally use someone's preferred pronouns. Matt Walsh would not be happy with him for that. Just as I use someone's preferred name, simply from the standpoint of good manners. There you go. However, for the same reason, I object to rude behavior, ostracism, or threats of violence if the wrong pronoun name is used. Okay, so they undid that, and they had the stream, and the stream went over very, very well. It was a big success. They had a lot of people watching here. If you look here, this was a screenshot from earlier this afternoon. As of then, you had 162 million people view the tweet. Now, this is another thing that Elon got rid of. He got rid of the view count on the videos themselves. So when you embed a video in a tweet, it used to show how many people viewed the video in the lower left-hand corner of the video.
It doesn't do that.
It doesn't show that
anymore.
I've noticed
they took it away on this.
No, on all videos. It doesn't show that anymore.
Really? Why would you do that?
Who the hell knows? It's very, very strange.
Doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense. But 162 million people viewed the tweet. That's a massive number, obviously. So it obviously got millions and millions of views. And so they were able to sort of unthrottle it or uncensor it, if you will. But yeah, no, I think Russell's right. I think this was an attempted mutiny over this. And look, without getting too into the film, Russell and I watched the film when it came out because we wanted to review it for the show. And the thing about the movie is
we will make our views on trans issues clear at a future date. I know a lot of you have been asking, what do you guys think about this? It's really vague.
Well, yeah,
but, we're going to do a 6-hour special next
You're right,
Sunday.
a 6-hour special, right. I saw the movie when it came out because we were going to review it for the show, which we did. And the thing about the film itself is the film does not have the same kind of vitriolic, mean-spirited tone that Matt Walsh himself often strikes when he discusses these issues on his show. Like when he's talking into the camera, he's very, very upfront and hostile about it. We don't owe it to them to participate in their fetish by calling them what they want to be. And like the movie is not that. The movie is basically a comedy. I mean, he's basically doing shtick. He's basically doing the Michael Moore thing, which is I'm going to calmly ask people questions and give them, the space that they need to make themselves look like an ass in front of my camera. That's not most of the movie. That's a good half of it. And then the other half are interviews with politicians and some of the people who profit a lot off of these sort of gender affirming surgeries and things like that. So like there were certain parts of the movie that were interesting. I think the people who call it this like viciously transphobic movie probably haven't seen it, because that's just not the tone it strikes. It's even a lot of the subjects who he's meaning to ridicule don't come off looking bad. Like even that one woman in the exchange that's on the trailer where he says, "What is a woman?" And she says, "Well, I don't know because I'm not one. I have to be one to say." And he says, "Well, are you a cat?" No. Do you know what a cat is? It's just that line of argument. And she kind of says, "This was a terrible mistake," and walks away. Like, yeah, she looks like someone who
I think the pediatrician comes off very badly.
She does. No. But that's, like I said, he goes after the professionals, in the movie to try and expose them and the politicians. But like the every man and every woman on the street who he encounters, like the nudist, they don't come off looking bad. Like some of them lose an argument, but there's a sort of benign quality to those scenes. He's not out to skewer them.
Right.
And so the movie itself wouldn't violate strict terms of service in the way that some of his content might, depending on how your platform was, situated.
Yeah, we were talking about this earlier. I had never even heard of Matt Walsh until this movie came out. So it's instructive and it's a warning what my first impression of Matt Walsh is. This is something I keep saying, and this is a big part of my whole argument in why we need to separate ourselves from the kinds of people that he's making fun of. Because when I saw this movie, as Keaton describes it, he's doing a Michael Moore bit. He's asking them questions and letting them hang themselves. And he's got a very good dry sense of humor, a very good dry delivery. And I had honestly, not only had I never seen Matt Walsh, I'd never quite seen anything like this. I'd never seen a conservative be this funny, right? I'd never seen a conservative do irony, right? It was like, by definition, conservatives don't get irony. And it was very perplexing to me. It was very confusing. So then I started watching Matt Walsh's videos on YouTube. And I said, okay, so this guy is really like a character out of The Handmaid's Tale. Like this is one of the guys who would be portrayed as being in the ruling body of the society, right? And they'd show you what he did before, and he was like a YouTube host or something, he went on to be one of the thought leaders that formed the constitution of this new Handmaid's Tale society. Yeah, he's a genuine Christian theocrat, really. I mean, as far as I could tell from a lot of things he says, he's straight up, pro-life. No, not real. I don't get the impression he even states' rights level. I'm pretty sure he would support a federal law against it. So you listen to a lot of what he says, and look, if your first exposure to Matt Walsh is that movie, he's a very appealing figure. And I can tell you, even watching his videos on YouTube, it's not like he's up there doing, Hitler at Nuremberg. He's always pretty funny. He has a very good delivery. He's very smart. He has a very dry sense of humor. And as with the movie itself, his targets make it easy. So point being, I already have my politics. I'm not going to be converted to anything at this late date. Nothing radically different from what I believe. But what about somebody who doesn't really have any politics, who first sees a very appealing vision of conservatism, I think, especially by contrast with the people that he's talking to? Then you get drawn into that ecosystem, and pretty soon you're going to be right wing. You're going to be a conservative. Like, who are you going to side with? The people in that movie? That's who you're going to side with. If you're coming at it from a neutral place, you don't have a bias one way or the other. Who are you going to end up aligning yourself with? This is why I keep saying we have got to separate ourselves from those people. They are toxic. They are a turnoff to most reasonable people in society, and they push people over to those kinds of politics and everything that comes with it. There's like the gateway drug. You watch a movie like this that's very funny,
right,
that makes these people look fucking horrible, and you don't want anything to do with them, and pretty soon, you want to cut taxes for the rich, right? It's one leads into the other.
Yeah, and just to put a button on that, because when you say, the people who come off looking horrible in the movie are not even so much trans people.
He doesn't really interview any.
He doesn't really interview trans people. He interviews the doctors,
he interviews
the professionals, people in spaces who he thinks are using this for really. I mean, he talks a lot about the financial incentives behind it. Those were the parts of the movie that I found, I guess, most memorable. Although I saw it not too long ago, I don't remember much about it, honestly. So I can't give it a rave review if I don't remember.
It was free, and I knew we were going to do this segment. I did rewatch it. Yeah, man. I mean, that was interesting too, because now I know Matt Walsh's stuff.
Right.
So like going back and watching it, I remembered like what impression I first got. And there's a point I've made with Matt Walsh before as well. I mean, I really find his career fascinating. I find him fascinating. I can't prove this. It's unprovable. That personality type, the personality type Matt Walsh is, if Matt Walsh had been around 30 years ago, he would have been a writer on Saturday Night Live who occasionally did a sketch on Weekend Update. That is my, because people like that, very curious, very kind of naturally anti-authority, kind of cantankerous gadfly types, were naturally attracted to the counterculture left, right? Like there was no place for people like that on the right. A guy like Matt Walsh would never have been on the right 30 years ago. And that's part of why we're losing, man. That's the point I keep trying to make. When you have created a movement that is so fucking repulsive to someone like that, it's a problem, man, because you need those people, because they're funny, they're clever, they produce entertainment, and that's a big part of the way that you bring people into your movement. You want those people on your side. You want those people representing your ideology. If you are associated with concepts and ideologies that are so much of a turnoff to people who are prone to question authority, who are prone to poke around at assumptions, if you're turning those people over to the other side, you're in trouble, man. And that's why I keep saying we've got to make it clear we're not with the people that he's satirizing in that movie.
Yeah. All right. I think we can do some more super chats. Can we not? That's everything we had on that. Extra Bulla, thanks for the $2. Breaking mad crap. I mean crab hacked my stream. Oh, was he behind it? Was Crab behind it? Nemesis Crab hacking the TikTok.
I just don't think they were expecting that 11 people. They were expecting 6 at best.
Yeah, they're expecting 5 or 6.
They just weren't ready for that.
Yeah, which is great. I mean, it's actually great. You broke the internet, Bulla. You broke TikTok. You broke them. Bennett, my dad. I can't send the chat I want. Keeps telling me to try again. Where is the DueDissidence 800 support line? I don't know. I think you figured it out down the way there. I think I saw it. We should have a tech support. We should have a phone support line. That'll be funny. Tusker, thanks for the $10 super sticker. Appreciate that very, very much. Thomas, thanks for the $1.99. Love your show and your humanity for Palestine. Well, thank you very much. That means a lot.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And thanks for the donation. Kuznetsky Bassane, $9.99. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. Very kind of you.
Thank you.
And Russell, let's get that singing bowl out. We got a big super chat here.
Oh,
we gotta
snap.
bring on the screen.
Oh,
look at
damn.
This generosity by Rosie. We need 2.
All right. Now, is that to fix it or to leave it as B? Which is it?
Yeah, right. Exactly. I subscribed as soon as I saw Russell's bookcase. Take my money, please. You've earned it. The bookcase pulling in the money. Thank you very much for that. We appreciate that very much, Rosie. It's very, very kind. Buster Peak, $2. Why not Truth Social? Oh, to stream on Truth Social? Well, I don't know. I mean, isn't the Daily Wire sort of more of a DeSantis outlet now? I mean, they've been pretty warm on him. I don't know if Donald Trump would like them on Truth Social, but I think Truth Social is too small.
Walsh definitely likes him.
Yeah, Walsh is big on Ron DeSantis. Yeah. I think Shapiro probably is too.
Well, this is what I'm saying.
Well, Shapiro was never really a Trump lover. Shapiro was always
he was always anti-Trump.
He was always anti-Trump. Yeah.
Walsh is a social conservative. Of course, he likes DeSantis. He sees a guy who will genuinely enact his vision.
Yeah, exactly. He's probably a little gay for Ron DeSantis.
Maybe a little bit.
Maybe a little bit.
I mean, with that beard, it does. You know.
Peter Thiel owns Rumble. Oops, sorry. Peter Thiel owns Rumble, so all of us who use it could be targeted for the first round of RoboDog purge or camps. Not the big paid creators, just us. Yo, we have some people watching on Rumble now. Actually, shout out to everybody over there on Rumble. Thank you very much.
I didn't even know. Peter Thiel's kind of fascinating to me. I can't believe I didn't know that.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know he owns Rumble.
Yeah, no, it's his. Yep. Peter Thiel owns Rumble, and I think the reason they didn't do it, like I said earlier, I just think they didn't see it as being worth their while to do it. They saw this as being a big subscriber drive for them and a big Twitter drive. I mean, they got a lot of Twitter followers over out of it too, which keeps a lot of people in their network.
That's it. Well, they're looking at conversions. You know, it's a numbers game. Your conversion rate is probably like 1%, right? So you want millions of people to look at it, because then a 1% to 3% conversion rate is huge.
In something, yeah. I would have liked to have checked what their Twitter follower count was before that streamed. It's at 1.8 million now, so that's quite good. I would have liked to have seen what it was prior to that. Abiding, thanks for the 99-cent super sticker. We appreciate that, my friend. Oh, my dad figured it out. I'm a Jew, a J-O-O. See, that's a way to get around it. Didn't Tusker have one of her super chats denied because she put the word Jews in it? And so that's a way you can get around it now. Just misspell it. Alumnus who would rather, yes, that's right. You went to City College. Would rather give up pastrami for life than give a dime to Israel. Well, that's the thing. I mean, you never brought this up to me because of your politics, I guess. But I know some friends, because you have there's that birthright program where Jews are allowed to go and visit Israel for free. And I know a few friends
under like 26 though, right? Isn't it?
I think
it's like an age limit on
I think so. You have to go when you're young.
Yeah.
But yeah, I knew about that when I was like a teenager, and because I knew some people who did it, and I would never consider doing it. First of all, it didn't really seem. I mean, I didn't really know much about politics when I was a teenager about Israel Palestine. Like, I knew it was that's when I knew it was complicated when I was 15 or 16 years old. I didn't know what the hell I was talking about. But didn't you say isn't that part of how you got thrown out of Hebrew school, Russell, was telling your teacher that you didn't want to go to Israel?
Yeah. So because for the Jews the Messiah hasn't come. So she was talking, the teacher was talking about how the Messiah was going to come and lead all the Jews back to Israel. And, I grew up in an Italian neighborhood. All my friends were Italian. I didn't want to go to Israel. So I raised my hand. I go, what if you don't want to go to Israel? And she goes, well, no, Russell, the Messiah is going to come and lead all the good Jewish boys and girls to Israel. And I said, I don't want to go to Israel. She goes, fine, Russell, you can stay. All the other Jews will go to Israel. That didn't help.
Did not help. Yes, you were getting a lot of that. That's first super chat of the night. Got that thing going with the JOOs. Alms for the news Jews. Thank you very much. We appreciate that, Jason.
Thank you, Jason.
Donald grabbing by the pussy. Trump. Walsh got to start doing local radio in DW.
I actually
in where?
Yeah.
Where?
New Hampshire.
I'm assuming New Hampshire, but what's the DW?
Is
that a
town? I mean, I knew he got to start doing radio.
Yeah,
I've seen,
a lot of these guys came from radio.
They dropped
Shapiro,
some of, the videos of him when he was like really young, like early 20s.
Shapiro, Shapiro got to start in radio. What did Michael Savage say about Shapiro? That was fucking hilarious because he got jealous that he stole his time. Oh no, he said that about Levin. But Shapiro and Levin have similar voices. You know, they're very grating. He says they'd rather give my time to Savage when he gets booted off the air for. I think they put Levin in his time slot and serve Marcus. Said they'd rather hear a guy who sounds like Groucho Marx's grandmother getting a hysterectomy without anesthesia. That's how he described their voice. Funny. Terrabrate says he does too interview a trans person. Yeah, he does interview one or two in the movie, I think, like on the streets or whatever. But then there's the footage of the person going into that guy's store, you know, the older man. So they do appear in the film, but they're not like he doesn't interview many of them. I think it's
he interviews the main interviews there are an academic. I mean, I guess you could say
academic profession and the medical profession. That's
well,
who he
well, there's the
interviews more than
therapist who
anything.
I guess she's non-binary. The one who says I can't answer that, I'm not a woman. I think she's
maybe.
non-binary.
Yeah, see,
maybe.
I just don't remember the movie that well, which is
Yeah,
weird.
well, I
because
just saw it recently. She's not. I don't think she's trans. The one who says I'm not a woman, so I can't answer that. And then the pediatrician, I thought was the most damning interview in the film. He interviews the trans person who's more on the Buck side of things, although Buck's not regretful. But it was the trans person like with the caution.
Oh yeah. That's right. I remember that.
That was the main trans person he interviewed.
Rumble does suppress vids if you mention Peter Thiel. Is that true? Well, we mentioned Peter Thiel. We're streaming this to Rumble right now. We're simulcasting. So to answer Buster's question, by the way, thank you, Rodrigo, for the $1.99. Appreciate it. Buster Peak, thanks for the $5. Are you guys on Rumble yet? Nice subscriber live stream view count, by the way. Yeah, we have a good ratio. That's what people say about us. They say for a channel with less than 10,000 subscribers, these guys get a lot of live stream viewers. It's because you guys are very loyal, and we appreciate that very much. But we are on Rumble as well. We're on Rockfin too. The Rumble streams have been going pretty well. We've been getting some decent view counts over there as well. So that's always
yeah. That's right. Somebody mentioned, the gender surgeon is a trans woman. The surgeon he interviews. Yeah. So there are. So this isn't a super chat, but Russell, I bet your parents hated parent-teacher night. Listen, my poor mother, because I got kicked out of Hebrew school when I was 9, so I didn't speak a word of Hebrew. She begged them to bar mitzvah me. And they took pity on her, and they just gave me a tape to learn.
Oh,
and I agreed to do it for the money.
So, but how long? So, did you do the full bar mitzvah ceremony?
I did. I had no idea what I was saying. I just learned it off a tape.
So you just memorized from
audio.
They
put a book
voice
in front of me, but I wasn't actually reading it.
Right. Okay, gotcha. I went to a couple bar mitzvahs. I was not bar mitzvahs. I was raised secular, but I went to a few of them, and man, there's nothing more brutal than that. I mean, that is aggressively boring sitting through a bar mitzvah when you're a kid. I mean, it is aggressively boring.
Even my own was pretty boring.
Church was the same way. Like I would go, like my grandparents on my mother's side were Catholic. And so when I would stay with them while my parents worked a craft show in the city or something, they would take me to church on Sunday morning. And it's not boring in the way that you can just kind of sit and zone out, because you got to stand, you got to sing, you got to this, you got to kneel, you got to book. It's like there's things to do the whole time. You can't just sit and be bored and daydream. Like you have to focus on what's going on, but it's just so incredibly boring.
Dude,
Charlie.
I get paid $50 an hour to go to church on those fucking Harlem tours, and I still don't want to go.
Yeah, no.
Like they literally have to pay me to go to church, and I still don't want to go. Because you're right. I have to keep standing and sitting and standing and sitting. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah, indeed. Charlie, thanks for the $5, and thanks for becoming a member. I'm an 80s metalhead. I need my maiden. Hit the like button, 666, or maybe Russell can say it anyway. For you, we'll do it.
I'll tell you what. No, I can't do the maiden because we got to keep it special. But if you're an 80s metalhead, I'll give you a compliment.
You're gonna burn in hell. I'll burn in hell.
There you go. Beautiful.
There you go. Got a little 80s metal.
Gave you a little something there. Terrabrate says, thanks for another good show and not banning me yet. Well,
listen, this is my banning policy. I can't speak for Keaton. If you're fucking dangerously unstable, I'm banning you. That's basically my standard. If you are clearly severely mentally ill in a way that's really messing with the whole vibe of the chat room, that's what I'll ban you for. If you're a fucking lunatic.
Right. Like if you're making it difficult for people to follow the chat or making us feel like maybe you're gonna come get us.
Yeah. That's when I will ban you, if there's clearly something going on there beyond strong political opinion.
There's some people, that guy, and I'm not gonna, you know who I'm talking about because I brought him up to you in private last week, and I'm not gonna even get into giving hints about who that guy is. That guy is a fucked up guy. So there are some people, but to my knowledge, he hasn't come around the YouTube chat much. But but they're like that's basically the threshold. Yeah. That's basically now he knows. That's basically the threshold. But all right, I think that's our show for the evening. Thank you guys for your generosity. It was a great show. We had a great time with you all, coming in at an economical 2 hours and 51 minutes here. Got everything in less than 3 hours tonight. What do you know?
Damn.
Getting professional about this, I guess. Anyway, big week of programming coming up. By the way, I'll give a final shout out to the patrons. We're trying to do a little Patreon drive here. If you sign up at Patreon or Substack, you get call-in access to these live streams. You also get access to our subscriber exclusive live streams, which are private unlisted links that we send out via email to a private live stream on Rumble. And the last one we did was a lot of fun. We had a good crowd in there. It was a lively chat over on Rumble, and it was a really great time. We will be doing that a week from tomorrow, June 12th. It's going to be 2 of those a month, full shows. I think we did a little over 2 hours.
It's definitely worth signing up. It's like going to the intimate club gig.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So for as little as $5 a month, you get 2 full shows, bonus shows per month, 2 full length episodes, live streams, interacting with the chat and everything, just like we do here. You also get call-in access to the streams. So if you could sign up and help keep the project afloat, it is much, much appreciated. We are going to scroll our patrons out here. We have one more patron scroll to get through. Program notes, obviously, we are going to be on RBN tomorrow night at 8 p.m. for the post-duopoly show. That'll be a lot of fun. We are off Tuesday. Wednesday, we're going to be on Declaring Independence with Jose Vega. Our friend Jose Vega's got a good YouTube show and podcast that he kind of stopped for a little while because of all the activism he was doing, and continues to do, which we're, of course, very grateful for. But he's starting that up again, and he asked if we would be his guests as he starts it up. And, of course, we can't say no to Jose. What kind of people would we be to say no to Jose? So we are going to be on Jose's show at 8 p.m. on Wednesday, Declaring Independence. I will put all these out on Twitter. I will probably send links out via Substack too. So if you can sign up to our Substack, like I said, if you can sign up as a paid subscriber, that's awesome. If you can't, we understand. You can also sign up to our Substack for free. And this way you stay in touch with us. We send out alerts when we're going to go live. I'll probably start sending out Substack alerts to all of our guest appearances too, just so that you guys can find us when we guest on other people's shows, since we've been doing quite a bit of that lately. Kind of in-demand folks right now. A couple of in-demand Jews right now. Man, we've said the word Jew a lot on this stream.
It's like he says in Hotel New Hampshire. Take every opportunity you have, even if you have too many opportunities.
That's right. That's right. So if you would like to stay in touch with us for all of these announcements, please sign up, DueDissidence.substack.com. You could sign up for free. It really, really helps us, even if you sign up for free. So I believe that is everything we've got for tonight. We've got all our program notes. And then, once again, I just wanted to plug Jordan Chariton will be joining us on Sunday, a week from tonight. So we are looking forward to that. That'll be at 7 p.m. And
are you ready to rumble?
Somebody did ask if you would not scream as often into the mic, because when people listen on headphones, it freaks them out. Yeah. Well, what Russell used to do, you got a lot better at with this. But what Russell used to do was because it's a very theatrical way of speaking, where sometimes you would, for effect, you would in this, and then you scream. So what happened was you would lower your voice And then people, this was back in the audio days. We weren't on video. People would like turn it up because you'd get lower. And then when you deliver the effect, you'd scream and it was just blow the fucking ears out.
I've definitely from practice, like I've learned to try to maintain the same distance from the mic.
Right.
And to not do anything quite as drastic. Yeah, I mean it's a learning curve.
Yeah. Somebody was just saying that. Oh, damn it.
I'm sorry. Come on, man. That was funny.
It was funny. No, it was funny. It was fine. I thought I would give you that note because I thought it was a funny note because it reminds me of those old days where you used to go low and then loud. And then it was just funny because I could just imagine a person like thinking the volume's too low. You're talking too low, so they turn it up so they can hear you, and then you scream when the volume on their player is already really high up.
You're not gonna doze listening to our show. God damn it!
No, that's the way of keeping you on your toes. Got to keep you on your toes. All right, that's everything for super chats, everything for patron shout outs, everything for everybody here. Beautiful. Did I miss a chat in the private chat from Bippin saying there were some connection glitches on our end? Well, I hope that was just for StreamYard. I hope the YouTube stream came out okay. It seems to have come out okay. So
I didn't
I didn't see nothing really too bad. Maybe that was on his end. Alrighty, everybody. Thank you very much for being here this evening. We had a great time with you. We'll see you Monday, tomorrow on RBN, Wednesday on Declaring Independence, back here Thursday night at 8 p.m. Thank you very much for being here this evening. We hope you had a great time. We will see you later this week. Until then, of course, be safe and be well.
Oh, God damn it.
Forgot.
I was looking because they're saying I should use a compressor. Should I use a compressor? We'll talk.
We'll figure it out. Just hit the fucking
all right.
See you later.
That's what we call professional.
Bye-bye, folks.
Please clap.